I would like to call our meeting of the Glendora City Council to order at 7:01 p.m. on this wonderful day. And for the audience here tonight, my name is David Friedendahl, and I am the mayor of Glendora and will serve as the presiding officer over these proceedings of the City Council meeting. I will ask, in consideration of others, if you would kindly silence any electronic devices or pocket booms that might startle you if it goes off, and refrain from speaking unless recognized. And again, this is a public meeting for the community of Glendora, and we appreciate and respect your participation here this evening. For the record, all members of the council are present and ready to conduct our business. Our invocation this evening will be led by Pastor Andrea Messenger of Glenkirk Church, followed by a Pledge of Allegiance led by Jean Morrill. So,
thank you for inviting.
Please stand if you're able, and Pastor, welcome.
Yes, I am from the Presbyterian Church, unless you don't like my prayer, and then I am from the Baptist Church. I do want to share before we pray why I am so casually dressed, because we have over 350 campers at Vacation Bible School at our church this week and 150 volunteers. And what I love about Vacation Bible School, one of the things is we know what we're going to wear every day. And in fact, I'm going to preach in this very outfit on Sunday. But what I love even more is the message we have. We have this galaxy themed, with that God is this huge God who placed the stars in place and knows them by name. And yet he is so tender that he hears the prayers of a child and of a council. So why don't we bow in a word of prayer? Precious Lord, we thank you for this day and the gift of being here in this beautiful place. We thank you for all the blessings you have given it over the years, and we pray for its future. Lord, we pray for the leaders. We pray for their wisdom, their discernment, that they would make decisions that honor you, that strengthen the churches, that bless this community. God, we stand on the promise of Isaiah 41. Fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will help you. I will strengthen you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Be the strength and the wisdom tonight, and may you receive all the glory. Amen.
Okay, thank you.
Good job.
So I'm Presbyterian.
Okay. Place your hand over your heart and repeat after me. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea and Jean. It's always a pleasure. I'm going to take a liberty and invite guests that are standing or outside baking. Please come take advantage of the chairs. If you need to limp a little bit to use a handicap reserved one, they can probably tolerate that too.
Could I suggest that we allow Jim Crane to get up first? Or do you want to just stay with the way?
Where's he?
Another council meeting to get
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Great. I'd like everyone to please be comfortable. Okay, at this point, I'll ask if there are any wishes to reorder the agenda or add anything to it. And I understand we might have a request. Mr. Thompson?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to offer the thought that we allow the speaker that is indicated on item 2 to speak now. I'm not sure if he has other things to go to tonight. I probably would think that he does, so I would offer that thought.
Any objections? No. Okay, and knowing that he lives on the other side of the county, I'm sure he'll be welcome to get home sometime today. So with that, we'll skip ahead to item 2, a presentation on small business tax relief programs and updates from our very own Los Angeles County Assessor, Jeff Prang. Mr. Prang, welcome home and welcome to Glendora.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, council members. It's great to be here again. It's been too long of a wait. There's somebody clapping for me. That is nobody ever claps for the tax guy. But thank you very much for finding some time on your agenda to allow me to be here to provide a brief, or maybe not so brief, report about some things going on with our office that I think will be of concern to you and to the good people of Glendora. It's been a couple years since I last had the chance to be present here, so I thought I'd start for the members of the public with just a couple notes about my office. I always, as most of you have heard me speak many times, and I always like to begin by telling people what it is, before I tell you what I do, tell you what it is that I don't do. I do not collect property taxes. I'm not the tax person. The person who collects property taxes has a very intuitive title. She is called the tax collector. The assessor is tax adjacent. We're responsible for valuing property. Just a couple notes about my office. I'm one of 3 countywide elected officials. I'm the one that's not very well known. Everybody knows the other 2. That's the sheriff and the district attorney. My office is responsible for valuing all taxable property in the county. That includes both land and buildings, as well as business personal property. I run the largest property assessment agency in the United States. We've got 1,400 employees, a budget of close to $300 million. We are responsible for valuing about 2.5 million real property parcels in business assessments annually, which were just valued at over $2.2 trillion and will generate over $27 billion in property taxes, which is a primary source of funding for city, school, and county government. In a lot of ways, the assessors is the most important government agency because no other government agency, including you, can do your job until I've done mine. And if I don't do my job well and thoroughly, then money which should be going into your budget is left on the table. My primary job is the production of what we call the annual assessment roll, which is really just the inventory of all the taxable property in the county. The roll serves a couple of key functions. It is the foundation for the property tax system, although it's also an important tool for local governments as they plan their budgets in anticipation of property tax revenue. And it also provides some insight as to the ongoing health of the real estate market. I'm pleased to be here to report. You're the first city I have the opportunity to give this report to, that we just closed the roll at the end of June, and that we finally come up with our final numbers. I was forecasting that property, assessed value of property would increase 3.9% back in May, but much to my surprise, thanks to a lot of efficiencies in our recent modernization efforts, we closed the annual roll indicating a 4.42% growth in assessed value across the county, which will be very helpful to local governments which depend on property taxes. 2 biggest things contributing to that growth are, one is the transfer of property, the buying and selling of homes, property in commercial buildings, et cetera, which are reassessed upon a transfer. And the other factor is Proposition 13, which allows up to a 2% cost of living adjustment every year. That added about $43 billion to the assessment roll. There was an increase of about $10.5 billion due to new construction, ADUs, commercial construction, et cetera. And there was about $11 billion loss due to properties losing value. A lot of that has to do with commercial office space, particularly acute downtown Los Angeles, where those office towers are selling for 50 cents or less on the dollar from where they've been assessed in recent years. So if you're in the market for a commercial office tower, now is the time to get one. To give you a little bit of idea what's going on here in Glendora, this table gives you a little bit of an insight as to Glendora, some of the neighboring cities. Glendora, we record about 14,000 single-family residences, nearly 500 apartment buildings, 1,266 commercial industrial properties. Glendora grew at 4% last year, just right about the same as the countywide average of 4.2%. About $423 million was added to the assessment roll in the city, and the current assessed value of all property in the county, in the city, is $10.9 billion. This next chart displays the median sales price, not including condominiums, of single-family homes in Glendora and some nearby cities. If you look at the median sales price across Glendora and neighboring cities, Glendora's median sales price is now $915,000, just very close to what the countywide average is, about $982,000. And you'll see that there's a slight negative in terms of year-over-year growth of the median sales price. I wouldn't read too much into that. That might be one or two anomalous sales that skewed the rate, but home values are still increasing across Los Angeles County at a steady rate. I wanted to mention a policy that generates a tremendous amount of questions for my office. It's called Proposition 19. It was adopted by the voters about 6 years ago. Prop 19 does two things that are beneficial or less beneficial for the public. One, it allows a qualified homeowner who is 55 years or older, or severely disabled, or the victim of a natural disaster such as last year's fires. It allows you to sell your home and buy a new one and transfer your tax base to the new home. So if you bought your home 30 years ago, your taxes are relatively low compared to current market values. Well, you can move and take that tax base with you to your new home. You can transfer it anywhere in the state of California, and you can transfer it 3 times. If you're married, 6 times. So once you're 55, your tax base is portable. The only caveat is that if you buy a home which is more expensive than what you're selling, you'll get a new blended rate. The like-for-like value will be transferred, and the value over that will be assessed at market value. The other part of Prop 19 deals with family inheritance. And this part is not quite as popular because it actually decreased family inheritance benefits from what existed before Prop 19. So under Prop 19, the only property that your children can inherit from you and have that tax benefit is the home that you live in. And in order for them to qualify to inherit that home with your tax base, they have to move into it within 12 months and file the homeowner's exemption. But there's also another limitation that only the first $1 million in value is exempted from reassessment. And with the median sales price of a home in LA County very close to $1 million, it means that in good portions of the county, anybody inheriting their parents' property are going to get that with a tax increase, which did not exist before Prop 19. And additionally, before Prop 19, if you had additional property such as a rental, the first $1 million was exempted from reassessment. I wanted to skip ahead to one of the reasons that motivated me to be here today, and that is to talk about what we call the low value ordinance. I mentioned early on that one of my responsibilities is to assess business property, fixtures, furniture, equipment, and machinery. The challenge that we were having up until recently is that small businesses would have to pay this tax even if they owned very little equipment. The law said if you had $5,000 of aggregated equipment or more, you were subject to paying this tax. We did an analysis which showed that if you were a small business with $5,000 of equipment, you paid $50 in taxes, 1%, same as real estate. But our analysis showed that it cost me $174 to process a minimal assessment. So we were losing quite a bit of money on those assessments. So back in May, I asked the Board of Supervisors to raise that threshold from $5,000 to $10,000, which is the legal maximum that they're allowed to adjust it. And they did vote on that unanimously. And we believe that this now will save about 43,000 small businesses across the county the administrative and financial burden of having to pay this tax. I wanted to particularly come here to talk about this because your colleague, Councilmember Ulloas, was a real nag on this issue. We talked about it probably a year ago. It was something that he felt very strongly about to provide more tax relief to small businesses. He called me relentlessly to make sure that I was completing our analysis and getting it on the Board of Supervisors' agenda, and we did that back in May. And I wanted to thank you for pushing me because it was really important. We had not made an adjustment to that law for over 10 years, and it was doing no smart to your urging me to push that along that it got done when it did. So thank you, and I hope it helps a lot of small businesses here in Glendora. And then just in In closing, just a couple other things I wanted to mention that hopefully will be helpful to your residents, our mutual constituents. We recently launched a new program that's available to anybody who owns property called the Assessor's e-Service account. Anybody who owns property can now set up their own property profile on our website that will allow you to take care of a lot of tasks online that used to have to be done in person or through the mail, such as updating your mailing address, filing for tax relief due to a fire, filing for the homeowner's exemption. And I did want to mention that there's about probably 40% of homeowners in Glendora who qualify for the homeowner's exemption don't apply for it. This is a tax savings program, and the only qualification is you have to own the home and live in it. And most people don't sign up for that because they are not familiar with it. But by registering an account on our assessor's e-service, you can file for the homeowner's exemption, and most importantly, the assessor's e-service account. The assessor's homeowner alert program. The homeowner alert is something we designed with the Registrar Recorder and the Department of Business and Consumer Affairs to help combat title fraud. I think you're all familiar with that there's been an increase in title fraud in recent years. Somebody will use identity theft, go to the Registrar Recorder, change the name on your deed, leverage all types of debt against it, and it could be a real mess trying to fix things. But now anybody who owns property in LA County can now go to our website, record your email address with your property, and anytime something is recorded on your deed, you'll get an email notification within 48 hours. If you don't sign up for this, the first notification you'll get is a letter in the mail from the registrar, usually 30 or 45 days after that, and they can do a tremendous amount of damage in that amount of time. So, two things I would say in closing as leave behinds for you and for your constituents is encourage people to sign up for the homeowner's exemption, save money on their taxes, sign up for the homeowner alert, and keep your property safe from scammers. But I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I hope I didn't talk too long, but it's always a pleasure to be able to share some information with you and the people of Glendora.
Thank you, Jeff. I have one question, and then I'll obviously offer comments or questions from the panel. On the small business filing, the threshold's been raised. That's very good. Do the businesses still have to do a filing even if they're below that threshold? Or is it an honor system, or how does that work?
So we still do an annual canvass. Believe it or not, we send dozens of employees out throughout the county to go door to door to look at businesses to see what type of equipment they have. It's not unusual if you're a small business owner to have an appraiser from our office knock on your door and ask to inventory what type of equipment you have. But if you have under $10,000 of equipment, you'll no longer have to file that form or pay that tax.
Great, wonderful. Thank you, and thank you for the time and energy to come out and share with us, and certainly members' comments. Michael?
So for everyone in the audience, Jeffrey and I got acquainted many years ago, shortly after I was elected, and this man's incredible with what things he does. Centennial Heritage Park, they had a long issue with a tax issue that they had. They were trying to merge with another organization. They couldn't because they had this lingering tax issue. He's the assessor. He's not the tax collector, as he mentioned, but he put everyone together in a team to solve this problem that they've had for multiple years, and it got solved within just a few short little months. And it was just absolutely incredible. And there was another gentleman in town that had sold a piece of property, and it never really got consummated, but it got recorded, and so it got reassessed. And so this person got the property back, lost a bunch of money in the transaction situation, but his property was reassessed. Now he has an upside in the property tax. And the assessor, he took care of it and got it fixed. It was just absolutely amazing. That's only two stories. This is citywide with what he's done with our constituents out here, and I greatly appreciate everything you've done for our folks.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Mendel?
Thank you for being here, and thank you for thinking of us old guys. And there's a lot of us here, so that's going to be good when that day comes and transition occurs. And so thank you for that. And I really appreciate what you've done from the 5 to 10 grand. The businesses are finding it very, very hard, and I appreciate the common sense approach that you have always used. Appreciate you, and I'm glad that you won. I'm glad you're back in.
Thank you.
And do you term out, or
I don't have
are
term
you
out.
unlimited?
I have no term limits. So
Well,
I can
that's
do that-
great.
I can do this forever.
Okay, well, keep it up.
Can you?
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Shauna?
No questions, but I will just say, of all the people in this business of politics, you are one of the nicest people. I think you probably get a bad rap because you're the tax assessor, but you really are very nice. So
Kind of
we
you to say.
appreciate
Thank you so much.
Having you here.
Before I go, I did want to hijack your meeting for just a second. I brought a little certificate that I wanted to give to my friend and colleague who really helped ensure that this low value ordinance was adopted. And Michael, can I present this to you now? Is that Mr. Mayor, may I do this?
We'll let you do that.
Thank you so much. But just a little token of my appreciation for your efforts to help make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Put a copy of that in your tax bill. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy that drive to the other side. Okay, start off with great news. I love it. That brings us to our public comment period. I will open public comment and invite members of the public to address this legislative body. Speakers will be limited to speak one time on both on or off agenda items and be limited to 3 minutes. There is a public hearing item, number 4, and we will have a public comment period during that item. So if you're here to speak on the trash fee issue, I would invite you to hold your public comment till that time. Because if you speak now on it, you will not get to speak during that period. If you're here to speak, I would invite you to kindly fill out a yellow speaker card and submit it to our recording admin before the close of the public comment period. With that, I'll take the speakers in no particular order and offer Mr. Gene Morrill. Gene, you still with us? There you are. You're hiding behind the podium. So, welcome, sir.
Thank
And thank
you.
you for the Pledge of Allegiance.
You're welcome. Thank you for supporting our 9th annual Field of Heroes this year. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, City Manager, and the city staff. My name is Gene Morrill, and I'm here this evening to express sincere appreciation for your continued support for the Glendora Rotary and our Field of Heroes. If you haven't had a chance to visit it, we're going to have a 10th one next year. So 4th of July weekend, please visit us. On behalf of the Glendora Rotary Club, our volunteer sponsors, and the many visitors that attended this year's event, thank you for partnering with us and making this a meaningful tribute. The Field of Heroes is more than a display of American flags. It is a place of remembrance, gratitude, reflection. Each flag represents someone served in our community as a hero, protected our community, or made a long-lasting impact on the lives of others. It is a place where families gather and honor our loved ones. Veterans connect with fellow service members, and young people gain greater appreciation for the sacrifices they made to preserve our freedoms. Events like these are only possible because of a strong partnership between the community organizations and the City of Glendora. Your willingness to provide the places for the display, support of city services, and courage and community involvement demonstrates your commitment to preserving our values that make Glendora a special place to live and work. We also want to recognize the outstanding support from our police department, the Public Works Department, the community services staff, and all the city employees who worked behind the scenes to ensure this event was safe and well organized. Also, we would like to recognize many of the volunteers that set up and took down and watched over the flag display. Thank you to many organizations. I'll list a few of them. The local Smart 105, the Sheet Metal Union, if you don't know, they're around. They sent a bunch of guys to help set up. The LDS Church had a lot of young people help us out. We really appreciate that. And even the police explorers came down and pounded some flags into the ground. So thank you. And there's many others. We couldn't have done it without you. Also, a special shout out to Mayor Friedenau. He was down there beating the flags in and helping us out and gathering folks to watch the flags at night. Thank you, along with Ryan H. So if you see him in the city, he was great help and always helped support our thing. Oh, I'm running out of time. The Field of Heroes has become one of the Glendora's place to get together. Some of the funds raised were donated to the Police Explorer Program, Citrus College Veteran Center, and the APU Veteran Center. We look forward to doing our 10th one next year. If you don't know what it is, contact the Glendora Rotary Club and come visit us next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. Okay. Mr. Michael Katowski. There he is. Welcome.
Mayor, City Council. My name is Michael Katowski. I've been a resident in the community for 5 years, and I just wanted to share some of my preferences on outcomes for the library ahead of the upcoming larger discussions about city facilities. First, keeping full local control of the building and operations, whether it's a $10 million fix or larger funding options, would be my preferred outcome. Keeping as much local control and input would be the best course of action. Second, entering a public-private partnership where the city retains full operational control of the library's services, but maybe has to cede some influence over the physical structure to other uses as part of that partnership. Third, partnering with another agency to keep the building operational, but possibly ceding some of the control. Earlier conversations have discussed how partnering with the county helped us afford fire services and get our budget where it needed to be. I don't know if this is an option being considered, but in terms of stack ranking it against other options, I think it's less than ideal, but better than losing a library in town. Hopefully it never gets to that. To get to a place where there's no library services or a building in the city, I believe would be a real loss for the whole community, current residents and future residents alike. Top line, the board preaches local control on many, many things. Keeping that principle applied to the library would be the best course of action moving forward. In regard to the Public Works Yard, at the upcoming meeting, I would love to hear more about how improving the facility itself will help provide better services. I'm in favor of modernizing the structure, and I think a rundown of what more the city can do with an improved facility would be very beneficial for myself and the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mike Antonese. Welcome.
Why, thank you. Thank you again to the panel for the council for allowing us to speak this evening. My name is Mike Antonesi. I'm a resident of Glendora for 9 years. And here also to speak about the facilities meetings that are upcoming. I know that I'm very proud to have been a part of the Citizens Committee who has brought this to the top shelf of our attention. It's been something that it opened my eyes by going on a tour of these individual facilities. I retired recently from 25 years of nonprofit management, and I know what deferred maintenance looks like. And we have a city that is full of deferred maintenance in some of these critical areas that affect your employees and your citizens. And it's wonderful that we have a plan now and that the council appears to be working toward a plan and allocating money toward it. And I'm looking forward to the meeting on the 21st, I believe it is next week, where we can further put into flesh some other plans specifically for the library and the public works area. This is something that we can't keep putting off. The longer you put something like this off, the more visible it's going to become. I was shocked that our employees in Public Works don't even have an adequate shower arrangement in their facilities, though that the buildings are at best ancient that we're using, and they deserve better. Our employees deserve better. Our citizens also deserve a library that is modern. A modern library isn't just a building. It's a place where we can train our children up. And there's nothing more important than the next generation. And a library looks different in 2026 than it did in 1972 when it was built, I believe. So I'm looking forward to the city and to each of us pulling together. I know that the Rotary Club, of which I'm also a member, is a tool to make this community better. And I'm hoping that we can also be a part of this as we look forward to doing what's best for the community. Thank you again for being open to using some of the city funds that we've found, and I'm looking forward to finding where the rest of that money is going to come from. I've never thought that taxes should have been raised for this, so I'm glad that we're finding it. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir. Tomoko Toland. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Councilwoman. I'm Tomoko Toland, and tonight I just wanted to thank you for holding next week's public workshops and for making them public. Thank you, Mendel. Thank you, Michael, for having those ideas. It's really helpful, and as you can see, the city is engaged. There's a lot of us in the community that are very interested in this. For me, libraries indicate at least two things. One is how vibrant and how welcoming a community is, and two, how well a city spends public money for public good. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what your thoughts and what your decisions are next week on both the City Yard and the Glendora Public Library. So thank you again.
Thank you, Tomoko. John Fields.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council, staff, and great citizens who come to these meetings and voice your interest and spend the time here. That's what it's all about. Tonight I have the pleasure of singing the praises of Glendora's favorite city councilman, the one and only Michael Alawas. And I'm doing this tonight because I've known Michael long enough that he kind of hides his great achievements in a bushel, I think is the old saying. Anyway, just to throw some interesting information out to you that's important. Michael reinvented the mayorship during COVID and how the city council communicates with the public. He headed up the expansion of our police chaplain program with the addition of 2 more chaplains. He effectively communicated with the public on key housing issues affecting the residents of Glendora. He fostered and maintained a great working relationship with Glendora's citywide staff. He informed the public through various media outlets. He's a staunch supporter of Glendora's business community through interpersonal relationships and through past grant programs. He lobbied and received $1.5 million to restore Glendora's antique lights. And let me tell you, that was what I thought would be, I've been on the Historical Society for many, many years. Lived in Glendora here since 1959. And I couldn't believe that didn't go through with like 90% of the people in Glendora, roaring for it. In fact, even the Glendora Historical Society didn't step up and were like asleep at the wheel. So that's a sad situation. But Michael tried and did raise $1.5 million towards that. He's the author of the Medal of Merit program, and he is successful in getting passed a new League of California Cities policy to ensure fair and equal treatment of all government officials in California. Now, that's what he's done, okay? If he's reelected, we're hoping to see some future challenges that he's going to go after. One of those is state housing mandates, long-term facility modernization needs, obtaining state grants to fix and update the Glendora Library, which is obviously a big red-hot issue now, to continue to address the homeless population problem, supporting and growing diverse business community here in Glendora. He'll help manage our upcoming urban trans and first mile, last mile program as a Council of Governments member. He'll help direct the city's general plan amendment and zoning challenges, as well as the next housing element. And finally, above all, preserve Glendora's small town charm and character. God bless you, Michael. Keep going. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. Next up is Connie Nguyen. Connie? Welcome.
Hi. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Connie Nguyen. I've been a resident of Glendora for over 35 years. This is my first time speaking at the council. I'm a little bit nervous. But I'm here tonight because I care deeply about Glendora and the future of our community. I want to express my disappointment in the city's recent and ongoing decisions regarding how public funds are being spent. While I understand there are always many worthwhile projects competing for limited resources, I believe the city's first and highest priority should be repairing and/or replacing our aging and deteriorating public facilities. This is not a new problem. For decades, we have watched essential infrastructure continue to decline while difficult decisions have been postponed. Every year and every decade for delays, increases in financial burdens on the taxpayers. Maintaining the city's core assets is not a luxury. It is one of the most fundamental responsibilities of local government. Safe, functional, and well-maintained public buildings are the foundation upon which every city service depends. They serve our residents every day, reflect the pride in our community, and demonstrate responsible stewardship of taxpayers' money. Maintenance has been deferred long enough. It is no longer just maintenance, it's now a crisis. I understand that no decision is easy, and I appreciate the time and effort each of you devotes to our city. However, leadership sometimes means making the difficult choice to invest in long-term needs rather than short-term wants. I respectfully ask the council to make repairing and/or replacing our deteriorating city facilities the top priority going forward. It is time to stop kicking the issue down the road and instead leave for our next generation and our children and our grandchildren a city that has been responsibly maintained, not one burdened by decades of deferred maintenance. Glendora has always been known as the pride of the foothills. I hope we will once again demonstrate that commitment by investing first in the infrastructure that supports everything else we do and everything that the surrounding communities perceive us to be. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Connie. Tim Gue, am I getting that right? Tim, G-U-E? Is that you? Hi, Tim.
Hi, my name is Tim. I'm hard of hearing.
Oh, okay.
So if you
Welcome,
can-
Tim.
Hey, I'm here because of the funeral home down the street that was demolished. It's been going on for since April, and the sign that the poisons were out, the carcinogens were out. Can you guys hear me when I talk?
Yeah.
The signs are put out, but our concern is some of the people are still getting sick that live beside it. They develop rashes on their face, and heavy coughing and stuff like this. The work keeps going on. They keep digging and digging and digging, and they're bringing in new fill dirt and everything like this. What we're trying to say is that the concerns are when we call the health department, they don't call us back. When we call the EPA, they don't call us back. We started a meeting at the mobile home park to get it going, to see what's going on and when it will stop. I understand that this is the final stage and the building is going to be going up, or is that what's going on for the project? The dirt's leaving, so they're bringing in new fill dirt and everything like this, and it's a major concern to the people in the park. They've, like I said, they developed the coughing and everything like that, and it just keeps going and going and going. We just have some major concerns, and if you guys can look into it, maybe call the health department more and let them maybe come talk to some of the residents, or maybe if they come over, or the EPA, and that's where we are. We just have some major concerns about the situation and the poisons that were in the air and stuff like this. So thank you for your time. And
Okay, stay tuned. We'll address a couple of those things here at the end of public comment.
oh, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next up is Sanjana. Hi, come on up. Welcome.
Good evening, council members and everyone present here today. My apologies. My name is Sanjana Chanumala. I've been living in Glendora my whole life, so 16 years. I wasn't initially planning on speaking at this meeting today, but since the issue of the public library has become such a contended topic, I would like to speak on it, considering how important it has been to my development as I've grown up in this community. The public library, to me, is not just a library. It's a place for the entire Glendora community to come together and learn. I believe at its core, the public library is one of the most important public projects that we have in our community today. And while I do understand that funding does not come from nowhere, I believe that this is one of the most important places that funding that we get from the people who live in this city should go, because the public library is a place that ultimately benefits everybody, no matter whether you are a child or if you are a fully grown adult. I've just come from the public library myself before I came to this meeting because I wanted to meet up with my friends and discuss the future of a club that we're planning on continuing next year. The public library is a place for anyone to go if they just want to escape the heat or if they want to check out a new book. Also, I would like to point out that since the public library is a place ultimately that benefits almost everyone in the town, funding should probably go to a place that would have the maximum amount of people that it benefits. And while I understand that funding does not come from nowhere, it would ultimately come from taxes or from whatever reserve pool that the council has to administer, the issue of a public library renovation would only get more expensive as the facilities within the library continue to deteriorate. And it's because of that that I believe that action should be taken as quickly as possibly to continue to revamp the library and make it a place where people want to go visit, to learn, and to just come together. Within Glendora, the library is ultimately a community center for the people that live here, and that is why I believe that it should be, for the benefit of everyone who lives in Glendora, a place for all of us to keep going. And because of that, I urge you to please do as much as you can to keep the community center that we have had established for the past 5 decades alive, and keep, and keep the library here with us. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Any other folks wishing to speak on public comment period? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment and bring it back to the body for reports and comments, and I'll start with Mr. Thompson.
Mayor, thank you. And I just want to say thank you for each one of you being here. There's a million things that you could be doing. All-Star Game is going on. There's places that are cooler than this, but you're here and engaged, and I just want to say thank you. That leads me to my next point. As many of you have said, we have another workshop Tuesday night, and the last one I think proved to be very good, and this one will be just as good as we confront and talk about things that are important to all of us, and hopefully we'll come up with some sort of a pathway to fix some of these things. As some of you have said, these things have been going on for a long time, and to get a fix in an hour and a half or so is maybe kind of a big goal, but we are going to give it our best shot. So I hope that all of you are there. As you all know, it's hot, so let's don't have any fires. We've experienced that several years ago, and it's not good. So I hope that everybody stays calm and make sure that there is no fire, and make sure that you watch kids around pools. This is a prime time that, unfortunately, some bad things can come about when kids are left not watched. I also want to end with saying thank you to Public Works and Park and Rec staff that are out there in this heat and serving us and doing work. I just want to say thank you to each of them. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mendel. Shauna?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, everyone, for coming tonight, and those of you who spoke, and especially, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Sanjana. That was amazing. I'm so proud of our students. Bravo for standing up and letting us know how you feel. I hope everyone's having a good summer. It feels like it's going by so fast. We're in July, and I feel like, oh, this should be the time when it's nice and calm, but I feel like we've been doing stuff like every day of every week. And for me, I know there were some of us that were at the groundbreaking ceremony for Olson. That was a lot of fun. Last week, I was down in downtown LA for my monthly Southern California Association of Governments meeting. So that's always a good day. Thank you to Rotary. I'm glad you're here, actually. The Field of Heroes event is amazing, and I'll echo what you said. I think it's a good thing for the community to attend that. It's just awe-inspiring, and I'm so impressed by Rotary as an organization for all you do in the community, so thank you for that. I received an email, Adam, I had forwarded it to you, in regards to kind of what Mendel said, the fire risk. I know there's a lot of fires popping up recently in the area. I think it has a lot of people on edge because we all remember the Colby fire. Can you, or is somebody able to kind of speak to, any preparedness efforts that Glendora is undertaking?
Sure. Appreciate the opportunity. Good evening, everyone. I think Captain Stabio is back there. If you wouldn't mind coming up, we'll put him on the hot seat, so to speak. Just for all of you, in case you do want to find additional information on emergency preparedness in general, cityofglendora.gov/preparedness. Can find lots of information, but for some specifics on the work we've done and some public polling to help educate the public, Captain, if you would, please.
So we actually do quite a bit in the realm of emergency preparedness. We just finished our local hazard mitigation plan. It was approved by the state as a component of that plan. And for those who might be listening, the local hazard mitigation plan is essentially an assessment of risk areas within the city, and it provides a framework and structure for us to assess those risk areas and then build a framework to rebuild, to manage the crisis if it occurs, and do so with a minimum of red tape, so to speak. About every 3 or 4 months, we do a tabletop exercise. Many of those tabletop exercises involve wildfire mitigation and wildfire planning, mostly from the police department side, but we work pretty closely with our counterparts with LA County Fire. There are a number of things that people in Glendora can do to safeguard themselves, to sort of give them a plan if we have a wildfire. And the truth is, wildfires are a part of where we live in Southern California, and specifically the foothill communities, so you want to be prepared. There are a couple things that you can do. One, sign up for rave alerts. You'll forgive me, I cannot remember the 5-digit code for it, but if you give me a moment, I'll find it at the end of my little talk here. Sign up for rave alerts. Most often, they come directly from the police department, and if we have anything that is happening in the community needs to be informed of, it's a great platform to be able to do that. Sign up for Genesis Protect, completely free service. Basically, what that does is it creates zones all through LA County, and you can go onto a map, you find your zone, and if we have a wildfire, they will evacuate based on zones. So you'll get a warning that tells you, hey, look, there's a wildfire. It'll give you the location of the wildfire. It will sometimes give you where it's spreading, what the containment percentage is, not typically how many firefighters are on it, but it will give you great pieces of information to let you know when you have to evacuate, when there's an evacuation warning, and when it's time to go. Those are some very important things that you can sign up for. And if you'll give me a moment, I will find the rave number. It is 67283. So if you text Glendora to 67283, you'll be able to get rave and sign up for it. Happy to answer any other questions that I may not have covered.
Are you familiar with the fire risk reduction list? I was asked about that, and I was not familiar.
Yes, that's actually put out by CAL FIRE. There are a couple of things you have to do. One of those is to have a local hazard mitigation plan, which we do have. I think there are 5 components in one category and then 2 components in the other. I'm not tremendously familiar with it. I know that our emergency coordinator, Ms. Julie Linger, was just having a conversation yesterday, as a matter of fact, with some folks from CAL FIRE to see what we need to do to be on that list. And in that conversation, they also had a discussion about starting FireWise communities, which is, it's kind of like a neighborhood watch for fire-related things, where it's pretty broad, and they discuss things they can do to, mitigate risk of fires.
Perfect. I appreciate the information. I think we're all a little on edge. Every day it's like, walk outside. Oh, we have another fire somewhere. So appreciate it. That's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna. Michael?
Thank you, David. Usually, as Mendel says, thank you for coming out. Usually, we're talking to empty chairs. So it's nice to have people in the chairs. To extend on what was just discussed, there's a great app called Watch Duty. It's a wonderful app. It gives you instant information, gives you percentage of containment, and it sets a lot of people at ease. So I would highly suggest you download that app. It's great. I used to have to call the chief or Adam or somebody like that, and now I go straight to the source and I don't have to bother them. It's great. And Adam, could you speak to Michael's question about local preference? We have a local preference for developers, contractors in Glendora for contracts, as well as a question was brought up about by Connie about money spent for facilities that we just spent close to $4 million, not quite there, on some facilities that we did citywide.
Yeah, so just a couple over pieces of information, and before I touch on that, just wanted to make clear, a couple of the speakers this evening sort of talked about the city's having a discussion about keeping the library or not. And just so everyone's clear, that's never been a topic of conversation if the library needs to remain in Glendora or not. In fact, what most people do not know is the Ed Code is what talks about or covers the library, which gives very specific requirements if the city were to ever want to get out of the library business, which has never been a topic of conversation one time. So I think that needs to be said. It's kind of been said out there, and I just want to make perfectly clear that that won't be in your packet next Tuesday, nor has it ever been a topic of discussion for the council. Quickly, as it relates to purchasing, the city does have a comprehensive purchasing resolution policy and municipal code. As it relates to local preference, the city under state law is able to provide a 5% local preference for commodities and services, but not actual construction. State construction is, as many of us know, required by the state of California to include things like prevailing wage. And so we're unable to do that pursuant to state law there. As it relates to some of the work done, I think a lot of the speakers have absolutely hit the nail on the head. And Connie, for not speaking ever in your 35 years as a resident, you did a great job. I know it's difficult. And, you know, the city is, as Speaker stated, has decades of, you know, unfunded things. It's something we've talked about a lot in this chamber, and the council's discussed its frustration on the dais about. And council, you know, tried to address a little more than $3 million of those back needs at our most recent workshop. Hopefully, you know, if it all works out and we can save money here or there, we can stretch that funding out even further. I think, you know, we've identified $50 million in unfunded basic maintenance needs over the next 20 years. And while we do spend more than $2 million more a year now than we did in 2018 for deferred maintenance on streets and facilities, it's still a significant issue. But the city has, through modernization efforts, continued to try to do that. You know, I think just a little sneak peek, and you said, is the city, when it built a lot of these facilities in the 60s, cannot build facilities the same way. Prop 13 passed and fundamentally changed local finance, and if you're a property owner, it's great, you know, but it fundamentally changed. In fact, our library that sits across the street exists because the city gave its fire department to the county, did not reduce its property tax, and that excess surplus allowed the city to issue debt and build that library for a whopping $1.15 million. And so, you know, there are just challenges, and the city council is not a stranger to those challenges on facilities, whether it's the Public Works Yard or the library, which are the, you know, the two biggest dollar ticket items to date. You know, we probably have well over $100 million in other needs throughout the agency. We've talked about a new civic center that could cost $125 million, which is consistent with what other agencies are paying out there for library, police department, and city hall. And so, you know, the city council, from a policy perspective, has its work cut out for it. We'll do our very best job to provide that information as best as possible and give the council the opportunity to give staff further direction on how we're going to address the library and public works yard. So I think the speakers this evening, we appreciate the feedback. We really hope and encourage you to come next Tuesday night, where it'll be much more of a free flow conversation, and look forward to providing as much information as you can.
And roughly how many miles of pavement are we going to be able to do with the almost $9 million we allocated?
Oh, the lane miles, I don't know off the top of my head, but it is several. So our hope is really to increase the overall PCI, which is really on a scale rating of 0 to 100. You know, the council wanted to improve from a 63 to a 70 over 7 years, which will require us to find more than $22 million in net new funding over that period of time. You know, the allocation the council made is, you know, almost halfway there. So, you know, we're really looking forward to improving, hopefully by almost 3 full points over the next 18 months from where we existed in 2025, which is a huge improvement, but it is several lane miles of road and on very major and public visible roadways. So we're also looking forward to coming back with about $1.5 million in slurry seal projects, which, you know, could be over 1 million square feet of pavement as well. So,
Great. Last question. Tim, I'm not going to try to butcher his last name, talked about the mortuary. Did we get any inquiries about that issue?
yeah. Is that something you want to talk about, Mayor? Your
Actually, yeah,
comments?
I'll address that and invite
Sure.
our Assistant Director of Planning up to address what he knows about that. So he'll give a better report than we could right here. So,
All right. Good. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, thank you, Michael. Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to everyone that came tonight, and hopefully many of you will come Tuesday night to the workshop so you can share some thoughts there as well. On the subject of the library, this last Saturday night, the Glendora Public Library Friends Foundation hosted the annual night on the plaza, and as evidenced by the large turnout there, it demonstrated that there are many people who are concerned and care about the library and its programs, and so it was great to see that outpouring of support there. And thank you also to Rotary for not only the Field of Heroes, but many of the other projects you've been involved in this year. And another great place to meet up with other residents and enjoy the community is at the Farmers Market that's been happening on Wednesday nights. If you haven't gone yet, they've added some food vendors. Just a shout out to the beignets. Check those out. But lots of great produce, lots of great things, and a great place to meet up with friends, neighbors, and make new friends. So encourage you to check that out on Wednesday nights from 5 to 9 in the Village. And then coming up also in the Village on August 15th is the annual Flashback. You get to see classic cars, you get to have some great entertainment. So encourage everyone to come out and see that as well. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Karen. Our last meeting, I was absent in physicalness. I was here. I was on the Zoom program and dealing with our program electronically. It worked well, very nicely. But I was in Washington, D.C., and what a neat time to get to go right before 4th of July to see the historic buildings, feel history, and see the inspiring and motivating celebrations leading up to the 250th anniversary of the signing of our Declaration of Independence. We came back and had a wonderful presentation from our community partner, the Glendora Rotary Club, with the Field of Heroes. And I hope that we can take that theme and look at it as moving forward with, it's not we, them, or I, it's us. And we, us, can do great things if we keep that momentum going and remember the mission hasn't changed from 250 years ago. It's a little more convenient than it was then, but we still have issues to deal with, and the solutions can come in the same civil manner. So I hope we'll do that. We've heard several times about the workshop for facilities restructuring, which will be next Tuesday. I think the last one, if you didn't get to go or didn't watch it, it's an informal conversation. It has some give and take. It doesn't have the formality of public speaking that this does. So it's a great opportunity for us to share and to listen and learn and brainstorm towards solutions. So I encourage us all to please participate and come. A full room would be a fun problem to contend with, so we'll figure that out. To address the conversation about the housing project at the former mortuary site, I'd like to invite our Assistant Director of Community Development up, Sean McPherson. He and I have been engaging in the last week or so, and he has information and maybe even updated from a week ago, and he can deliver that much better than I. So Sean, welcome, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the most recent construction activity occurring at the mortuary site is the over-excavation and recompaction of soils, which is a common but critical step in the construction process. That's effectively where the soil is turned over to a point to where it's compacted enough for buildings to sit on top of the soil. Typically what happens after that is when the foundations are laid, concrete is poured, trenching occurs for underground utilities and such. So that activity that is occurring out there right now is related to the over-excavation and recompaction of all those soils. I would love to, if possible, have the contact information of the individual who commented tonight, and I could reach back out to and help relay, be a communicator with the developer on that project.
Great. Thank you very much. Any other questions on that item? Okay. Thank you, Sean. And Tim's right behind you. We'll get some additional information. And Sean's good for his word. He will reach back. Okay. Some fun stuff. Who knows that this is Parks and Recreation Month? Yay. It's really a fun thing. And in Glendora, that's big. So we would like to invite our Recreation and Community Services team, Annie Warner and Amanda and Kelsey Fay. Bring the crowd up. I made them all come. Oh, good.
Adam shaking his head.
Yeah, that's how it
goes.
So we have this neat wallpaper for your office. Wow, that's great. So I will read this and then we'll do the photo op, okay?
Perfect.
So Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas the 2026 National Park and Recreation Month theme, The Power of, celebrates the extraordinary impact that parks, recreation programs, human services, open spaces, and the dedicated professionals and volunteers to enrich the lives of residents every day. And whereas the City of Glendora proudly provides residents with access to quality parks, trails, recreational facilities, community programs, and natural spaces that enhance quality of life and strengthen community connections. And whereas Glendora's parks, recreational programs, youth sport, teen services, senior programs, special events, and enrichment opportunities demonstrate the power of play by encouraging creativity, learning, personal growth, and healthy lifestyles for people of all ages and abilities. And whereas Glendora's parks, community centers, trails, and gathering spaces demonstrate the power of connection and the power of community by bringing neighbors together, fostering relationships, celebrating diversity, and creating welcoming spaces where residents can gather, volunteer, and build lasting memories. And whereas the city's beautiful parks, wilderness areas, trails, and foothills setting at the base of the San Gabriel Mountains demonstrate the power of nature by providing opportunities for recreation, exploration, reflection, and appreciation of the natural environment. And now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Glendora, do hereby proclaim July 2026 as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Glendora, and let us take this opportunity to recognize and celebrate the vital role that parks, recreational facilities, programs, and human services play in enhancing the health, wellness, and safety of all Glendorans. In witness thereof, I have signed my name to this certificate and proclamation and the seal of Glendora on this 14th day of July 2026. So congratulations, thank you.
Thank you for acknowledging our department with us this evening. I'm just going to go in no particular order. We have Romero Valderrama, Alma Villasenor, Natalie Ramirez, Jasmine Rosas, Megan Stone, Kelsey Fay, and Amanda Sisha. We're missing three people full-time staff who are on vacation, and then we have countless part-time staff who literally are the backbone of our department. We have a large number of part-time staff who are working up at dirt camp and field attendants and maintenance workers and at the teen center. They're working oftentimes before we get to work. They're working till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, working facility rentals 7 days a week. Our department is comprised of 6 divisions. We have our homeless services, teen, recreation, transportation, admin services, and I forgot one, senior services. And so we encompass a lot. We cover a lot of ground, serving all ages through programs, special events, and programs. And we really appreciate your support and the community support. And we're grateful to be honored this evening.
Thank you very much. I don't think I had one more whereas in me on that one. That was good. Congratulations, and what a fun time. And they are the fun department, definitely. They get to do lots of neat things for us. Okay, that was item 3. Okay. Brings us to item 4 on the agenda, a public hearing. It's for Proposition 218, majority protest public hearing for the proposed solid waste and recycling rate adjustments. And at this time, I will declare the public hearing open and invite management analyst Stephanie Ryan to report. Welcome, Stephanie.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight, I will be presenting Proposition 218 Majority Protest Public Hearing regarding the proposed residential commercial solid waste rates. A quick background. On June 9th, City Council approved the Fifth Amendment to the franchise agreement with Athens Services. The amendment updates commercial and multifamily service requirements to support compliance with Senate Bill 1383, including implementation of a 3-container collection system consisting of separated trash, recycling, and organics. The amendment also updates the proposed maximum rate schedule for solid waste and recycling services for all property types, including residential. And under Proposition 218, the city is required to conduct a public hearing before those rates may be adopted. As part of the Proposition 218 process, notices were mailed to all property owners within the city on May 29, 2026. The notices included the proposed maximum rate schedule, the basis for the proposed adjustments, instructions for submitting written protests, and information about tonight's public hearing. If approved, following the Proposition 218 majority protest process, the maximum rate schedule will be effective from July 15, 2026 through July 14, 2031, and any increases beyond those approved maximum rate schedule during that 5-year period would be subject to another Prop 218 notice and public hearing process. So what is changing? The proposed rate structure, as mentioned, would establish this new 5-year maximum rate schedule for residential, commercial, and multifamily properties. For commercial and multifamily properties, this Fifth Amendment formalizes the transition to a standardized collection service that supports state recycling and organics requirements. In addition, commercial and multifamily properties would pay a phased annual supplemental fee of $23.05 beginning July 15th, 2026 to support the implementation of those state requirements. And finally, while the way the annual rate adjustments are calculated is not changing, the proposed maximum rate schedule would continue that calculation for this next 5-year period. So the annual rate adjustments would continue to be based on the trash CPI adjustment, which is the trash consumer price index change plus 1%. And here you can just see how the annual adjustments will occur over that 5-year period. All properties will continue to receive the annual trash CPI adjustment each July 1st. The 2026 adjustment already took effect on July 1, 2026, and residential properties would not see another rate adjustment until July 1, 2027. And there is no additional residential rate increase this year for residents as part of this public hearing tonight. The supplemental fee for commercial and multifamily properties would take effect on July 15th, 2026. With that, and before we begin any public testimony, I would like to just note that speaking during public testimony alone does not constitute a valid protest under Proposition 218. To be counted, a written protest must also be submitted to the city clerk before the close of the public hearing. And a valid written protest must include your name, your address, or your assessor parcel number for your property, your signature, and a clear statement that you oppose the proposed rates. We have blank sheets of paper and copies of the public hearing notice that was mailed. Those are available this evening if needed. And following the close of the public testimony, there are representatives from Athens Services and myself. We're here to answer any questions that you may have. So thank you, and that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. At this point, I will open public testimony and invite speakers to speak, reminding that you may only speak on this item, and ask you to kindly fill out the yellow speaker card and submit it to the reporting admin before the close of public comment. At this point, I will take in no particular order the cards that have presented so far. First up would be Stephanie Noel. Stephanie? Hi, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. My name is Stephanie Noel, and I am a homeowner at Rancho Glendora Mobile Villas. My first concern is transparency. I never received the required Proposition 218 notice, even though these increases directly affect me. I have also spoken with residents from multiple mobile home communities who did not receive this notice and had no idea this hearing was taking place. The Proposition 218 process only works if residents actually know it is happening. I would like to know how many notices were mailed, how many were returned, and what steps were taken to ensure residents were properly informed. My second concern is whether these rates truly represent the best deal available. When was this contract last up for a competitive bid? Has the city compared Athens Services pricing with other providers? Have alternatives been explored to reduce costs? And is there any cap preventing these rates from continuing to increase? Will residents be charged overage or contamination fees if items are placed in the wrong dumpsters or bins? Many residents are struggling to follow the current trash rules, so this could be a problem. For mobile home residents, shared dumpsters are also affected by illegal dumping from outside the community. How will Athens determine whether extra costs are caused by residents or illegal dumping? Residents who follow the rules should not be financially responsible for someone else's mistakes, and yet we already are. We are sick and tired of sucking up the costs for those who simply don't care. I also question why individual trash services are not being considered for our park, and Athens continuously advising against it, even though our current situation is unaffordable for the average person. I believe the majority of residents, especially in our park, would prefer individual bins because it creates more accountability and fairer pricing. When I purchased my home just a year ago, I was told my trash would be $84.33 a month. Within weeks, it increased to $90.08. Do you pay $90 for trash? For our 178 home community, that is more than $192,000 every year. Why are we getting charged $90.08 when the individual bins average less than half of that? I shouldn't be paying for other people's trash and unwillingness to comply. We are a two-person household and take the trash out twice a week. Residents are not asking for free services. We are asking for transparency, accountability, and confidence that every effort has been made to negotiate fair pricing. For a senior on a fixed income, a single parent, or someone living paycheck to paycheck, when is enough? $100, $150, $200. Athens is a private family-owned company, so it does not publicly disclose its financial results. However, industry estimates place the company's annual revenue somewhere between $500 million and $1 billion. Meanwhile, many residents are struggling just to keep up with rising costs of living. The contrast is hard to ignore. I respectfully ask the council to postpone approving these increases until these questions are answered. Comparisons are provided and residents can be assured they are receiving a fair and reasonable rate. This is not just about trash collection, it's about fairness, affordability, and making sure the city is advocating for people who live here. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
I wanted to submit on record my statement. Yeah.
Okay, next up is Cesar Espinosa. Hello and welcome.
Good evening. Pardon the attire.
It's hot
I have
outside.
to go change. Thank you and good evening to everybody. I oppose the proposed waste fee increase. For many households, this is another unavoidable cost added on top of already rising expenses. And the burden falls on residents who have no real alternative provider. I ask the council to reject the increase or at minimum delay it and require a stronger justification, more transparency, as we've heard, and a review of Athens Services costs and performance before passing more expenses on to residents. I also want to say that I did not get any notification regarding the Proposition 218 in June, so I want that to be reflected on the record. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Caesar. Kirk Hale. Welcome, Kirk.
Hello. As a resident of Glendora for over 50 years, I'm also a property manager, and the rent increases seem to keep going up, or the trash increases seem to keep going up, and it seems like there's no competitive competition with other trash companies to where maybe we can get it lower or just a couple different bids on who's going to take our trash. As far as the trash bins go, I have the big trash bins, which is fine, in the park that I manage. And it said something about green waste and recyclable waste. Well, I have 2 green waste containers for 56 units. So that makes no sense to me. And then I have no recyclable bins for the same amount of units. So I was just, if we're being charged for that, then why don't we have any bins available to us?
Thank you. Vicky Bagwell. Greetings again.
First, I want to say thank you very much for this opportunity to be able to stand and speak to you just for a few minutes. I have the same concerns as each one of the persons that have already been up here and spoken about the increase on our trash rates. We're in a park of at least 62 units, and each one is on a fixed income. Our fixed incomes don't change. They don't go up. And one of the things that we deal with is we have a lot of trash that's coming in from outside, even though the gates are locked on the outside. So we have people that come in and they dump their own trash into our bins. This is a concern. We have a very quiet park, very sad park, because people are under stress all the time of worrying about how am I going to pay this bill when it continues to go up and go up. I didn't know if I introduced myself. I'm Vicky Bagwell. I'm a new resident to Glendora as of 3 years. I grew up in Covina, and Glendora was a part of my life as well, which I really enjoyed. But still, this is my new home. It's not just my home. This is my park family. I'm very concerned about my park family and being taken care of. I didn't plan to speak today, and I'm grateful that I can. I don't know if I can say it any better than what's already been presented this evening. And I just want to reiterate, just like I said, just thank you for what's been said, and thank you for the opportunity. And hopefully we can see some. What am I concerned, actually? I understand there was supposed to be a 45-day notice. We didn't have a 45-day notice. Not enough time to be able to really rally with the park and say, hey, let's do this protest. I mean, maybe we needed the colored shirts, the same color shirts and the hats, and to really protest. But no, it's not. It's just working together. This is what we're asking for. Maybe they can delay it. I'd love to see a delay, so maybe we can gather more of the protest, people that are really concerned, that didn't have that chance. It's like they work and they're not able to be here and not able to be home to write these things, to do their things. So just thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Vicki. Richard Marino. Do we have a Richard Morero? Richard? Okay. Ben Galizio? Ben? Okay. Laura Alosi? Hi, Laura.
So I also did not intend to speak tonight, but this is a situation that affects me greatly. I am also one of the park owners who did not receive the notice. We went around several parks and nobody knew that this was going on. So that is a problem, and I would urge you to at least find out if the mobile parks were even included in this, because you have almost 1,000 mobile park residents in Glendora, and yet none of us knew that this was going on. We found out from a neighbor who doesn't live in our park, and we were like, oh my gosh, that affects us because we're under the industrial, trash service. And the reason that we're under that is because Athens because every time they're asked, Athens says that this is the more appropriate trash service. So are they being transparent is one question. If you're planning to add 2 extra bins per every bin we have, and those trucks are coming in and out, is that still appropriate? Because the wear and tear on our roads is a lot. And I understand that recycling is important. I'm not arguing that fact. But there needs to be some kind of come together with the residents, because we're paying over $100 for trash as it is. We're getting charged for overage fees every month, which pushes it to like $130. And now you're telling me that I can get charged for putting the wrong thing in the wrong trash. And when you have seniors, that's a concern. Because with my dad, when he was going through dementia and we took care of him, it was difficult to get somebody who has always put trash in the same bin to put it in a different bin or not to take it out altogether. It is very difficult. And I understand that that's something that every residents are going to face. But when you're in a park with mostly seniors, you're going to face that in tremendous amounts. I also want to bring up the fact that we live in smaller square footage. We have smaller yards. It doesn't make any sense for us to be paying double the price that a current homeowner in Glendora is paying with a pretty nice sized front yard and backyard who can entertain a lot. It's completely unfair, and they should look at competitive rates, because at no other job can you do something for a contract of 5 years and never be evaluated. It doesn't happen. So we have watched trash trucks pass up bins all the time. It happens. They come back through the park. And so my question is there a evaluation to these rate increases? Because if I'm getting more service for my dollar, that's fine. But if I'm not getting service for my dollar and they're not doing their jobs, or they're, being whatever, then that's not okay. And I think every resident should have been included in this, and they clearly weren't. And that is not okay. So I hope that you guys do take much of this into consideration, but a lot of us are paying over $100, and it's not okay in any kind of fashion. So
Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
Brian Kovaleski? Hi, Brian. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Council Member Elias, for answering my late email last night, providing some more detail about this. And I think just to reiterate what everybody else is saying, it's the idea that we all received a notice that this was going to happen with very little detail. Your email, Councilmember Elias, provided some more detail. I watched the last meeting when you all discussed this and this was approved. But still, I think the overriding issue is why 5 years? and why a sort of lack of accountability from our perspective, I think, as residents. You know, the CPI, the Consumer Price Index +1, is a measure of inflation, which we're all struggling with right now, and not a measure of quality and quality of service. And I think that's really objectionable for all of us that just got this notice, saying that this is basically, what it seemed to us, I think, is that it basically is going to happen. There's a hearing where we can object. And you know, I think we object to that idea that they get 5 years to maximize profits. And, you know, in terms of that, my mother-in-law lives in Baldwin Park. I've seen the big, giant Athens, you know, temple to waste management that's been constructed there. If you haven't seen it off of Arrow Highway, this massive facility. I think we've all seen Athens, you know, sort of dominating waste management and cities and civic services in the San Gabriel Valley, at least over the last few years. And so it just seems like we're being left out of the process here. The other piece of this is that I am on the board of directors of an HOA for a small 15-unit condominium complex here in Glendora. And we had the individual trash pickup. And so we already made the transition that you all have in your future possibly to the recycling. And we had all kinds of problems with it. They gave us the big 64-gallon, I believe, bins. And you know, people in the middle condos, we have 3 condos in each building, couldn't even get it into their backyards. It took months for that to get worked out. The service hasn't exactly been good for all of us. And so, you know, I think some more transparency, some more accountability, not necessarily giving Athens, you know, a check or permission to just raise rates for 5 years as much as they want, up to, you know, the measure of inflation plus 1% is what we're really asking for. So thank you for having this, this hearing.
Thank you very much. Okay. We did receive one written comment and correspondence prior to the meeting, and that has been included with our packet. I will ask, is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item as public comment? Okay, then I will close public testimony and close the public hearing and bring it back to panel for discussion. I know there's some questions. I'm pleased to report that there are many representatives from Athens Service Team here to address any questions that we may not know the answer, and we won't make up answers, I promise. We'll let them address that with personal history. So beyond that, I'll bring it back and ask Shauna, do you have any questions or comments? And I guess maybe if there are questions, we'll let Stephanie and/or
Mayor, if you wouldn't mind.
Determine and who's the best answer to that question. Yes,
Yeah, we'll have to respond, and then you can close the public hearing, and then you can do the discussion. So,
fair enough.
all right.
Okay.
Well, I would be happy to address one of the questions, if that's all right, regarding the mailing. So the city utilized a mailing vendor to make every effort to ensure property owners were notified, utilizing the latest tax roll information through LA County. We mailed 14,522 notices to every parcel owner in the city. We had 225 returned mail undeliverable. So if you didn't receive it, could have been a multiple. I can reach out directly to find out why specifically. I know I reviewed the mailing list extensively, and there were many mobile home residents on that. And we can figure out why you specifically and maybe others weren't on there. So I apologize for that.
And it could be that there's a single parcel owner, the
The-
underlying landowner that receives the notification. I think it's staff's understanding, speaking with Athens, and I'd ask them to come up and provide some of the commentary as it relates to the mobile home park, where the underlying landowner is the one that receives the notification, and it's our understanding, at least in part of the case, and if you would, Jonathan, that it's usually one bill that goes to one person, and then those costs are assigned. So I don't have some of those details, and it could vary by park, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, sure. And good evening, everyone. Jonathan Hughes with Athens Services. I know I had an opportunity to speak with a number of folks here before the meeting started. I can't speak specifically to the mailing component because that is something that, as you mentioned, the city undertook. And I believe, yes, those went to all property owners. So I, again, can't speak to whether they made it to every individual unit. I will say, to the city manager's point, it is most common, the most typical kind of setup with a mobile home park is that is a sort of a master account, if you will. I was speaking with a property manager earlier today. They have 178 units in their park. So that park has one trash bill a month. So that's all that we see on our end. And then it's between the homeowners association, essentially the board, and their residents and the property management company to decide how much they're billing to each individual account. So that's kind of the most general scenario or the typical scenario for those parks.
Would you mind, just for everyone here, and I know at the last meeting we provided in conjunction with staff in Athens a sort of a comprehensive overview on why this is sort of the second step in state mandated changes for trash. Do you mind just walking over some of the residential changes that have occurred and now on the commercial side as well?
Sure. Yeah. So in 2022, as was mentioned during the staff presentation, we did go through this transition on the single-family residential side. Because of the way that SB 1383, which is a state unfunded mandate that Stephanie briefly touched on, we're now required to implement this at the commercial and multifamily level, which has brought us to this point. So that's the change that's happening. I'll also just mention briefly from sort of a service standpoint, the requirement under the law is that each account have at least one recycling container. So that's really the only change here. I'll go back to the example of the park with 178 units. They're only required to have one recycling container, which is $27.56 a month. That cost is then split across the 178 parcels, or excuse me, 178 units, or however that property manager decides to split the cost. So that's the big change there. Most of the multifamily, like including the apartment complexes, condo complexes, mobile parks, already have the organic service. So that's not going to be a change. It'll just be the addition of that recycling cart. Did I answer your question, Adam? Okay.
No, but yes, go ahead.
Can you please come up to the dais and speak in the mic?
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, we want to be heard nationwide, so.
That way everyone at home can hear you in their recording.
Can I look at him or?
Sure.
Do I ask you? Does every mobile home park have, okay, besides the trash bins, do we have something for recyclables and vegetation? Because we don't have one. I've never, there's one, but it's locked. One. Are we supposed to have access to that?
Is it reasonable to expect that the implementation of this and the extra bins and carts would come after the approval of the program? So you may not have them yet, but that might be introduced as part of this.
Right, so then before this, was there for the whole 65 mobile homes, or is it just one for all of us? Or, do you know what?
I think I understand your question.
Okay.
I have to answer it, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if I understood the question correctly, and please forgive me if not, all of our multifamily properties already have the organic service. Again, it's possible that you only have one organics container for your entire complex because that is all that is required under the law. If your property manager or whoever the liaison is with Athens decides that they want additional containers, that's always an option. So under this new program, everyone should already have that organics. They're only getting an addition of the recycling cart. So that's what's changing with this new one. And that deployment, just for the council and the public's awareness, we've already sent out communication and we'll be doing robocalls and other things to make sure people know when those containers are coming. We'll be beginning as soon as the end of this week. So that's for the blue container only. But you should already have a green container. If you don't, of course, please reach out to us. I should mention that as well, as we mentioned to the council, throughout this process and at the meeting in June. We've done individual outreach to each of the property managers. So it's not like we're coming door to door in the mobile home parks, but working with the property management companies to make sure that we have a recommendation based on how many units they have and how much trash is being generated, et cetera. I also want to just briefly address the comment about bins versus sort of the single-family setup where you have the individual carts, because that does come up in other communities as well. It's certainly something we can look at if that hasn't been audited in recent past. The challenge is a lot of these parks, and it's true with apartment and condo complexes as well, were built at a different time, right, when there was sort of these concrete enclosures for 3-yard dumpsters, and many of those still exist. And so many folks, when we try to switch them, for instance, to single-family model, and we say, okay, great, here are your 3 carts, they say, well, I don't have a place for those. I don't have room in my garage, or there's no place where I can put them that aren't sort of in the public right-of-way or whatever. So it really depends on the property specifically, and we'll be happy to send someone out to work with your property manager on those requests.
So that way I'm hearing it, that would be the first step for the resident community to talk to the landlord, AKA property management organizer, the service contact who gets the bill to determine the need and the right sizing of that service.
That's correct, and I know every setup is a little bit different, right? There are the residents, and then there's the HOA association or board or whomever, kind of represents the residents, and then there's the property management. So it is ultimately up to those 2 parties agreeing, and then letting us know kind of, hey, what is your preference?
How to
or-
service the preference.
Exactly, and each property is a little bit different, of course.
Thank you. Noel? Oh, I'm going to invite you up to the mic.
If we're getting back and forth from, like, management, it's been asked by a lot of residents, and management is saying that every time they go to Athens, Athens advises against it. And so at what point can the residents in Athens get together and then go to management together? Because they're putting the blame 100% on you, and, I mean, it's not, like, who am I to say? But at the same time, like, I work for a school district. I don't get paid enough I'm a 28-year-old kid trying to figure it out. And $100, I mean, the more, it adds and adds and adds, I'm like, I can't live here, and I just bought it a year ago. And it was supposed to be my place to have kids, and be my home. I can't afford $1 million home. And
Thank you.
I will just respond to that by saying, ultimately, again, we're more than happy to come out. I'm happy to get your information. I would offer that to anyone who spoke this evening. We're here. A couple of my colleagues are here as well, and I know I spoke with a few of you and gave you my card before. We're happy to send our folks out again and have that conversation anytime, seriously. And I will also mention that in not all cases, and again, I don't know your specific scenario, but in not all cases is it less expensive to go the single-family 3-cart route. So I know, for instance, I spoke with the property manager earlier today, and their residents are paying less than the current single-family rate. So it really depends on the scenario. It's not always easier to go that option, whether for space constraints, there's also the trucks being able to get into the facility, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of different factors, but you all have our commitment that we will continue to work with each property, just like we told you before. I also have mentioned to staff that it is our intention to get a record of all the written protests that were written and submitted, so that any that are service-related, we can address on an individual basis with the folks who took the time to write those comments.
Okay, thank you. Shauna, did you have any others?
I didn't have any questions, but I do appreciate that you guys are here, and I don't know if you'll be around if there are people that didn't get their questions answered. I mean, you've always been very available, so I don't know if they can maybe meet you outside or something.
Absolutely. Yeah, happy to connect with folks individually and or follow up, going forward. The other thing I'll mention, I know that a couple questions kind of about the operations came up. I do want to, and somebody mentioned our big shiny new building, which is right off the freeway, although it is in Irwindale. But we invite you to please come down. And I just say that because Irwindale would be very upset if I acknowledged it was in another city.
That's a fact.
It's a fact, yes. But I would offer to any member of the public, I know several members of the council have had an opportunity to visit that facility. If you'd like to kind of know a little bit more about what happens to your trash after you put it in the barrel and you don't see it again, we'll be happy to set something up for anybody. So just wanted to offer that.
Thank you.
And that MRF material recovery facility is in fact a recycling program to defer it from going to the ground.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so what we do at that facility
and the
is...
proceeds help offset operational costs. So we
100%.
don't have to necessarily.
100%, yeah. So what we do there is we take your recyclables and we take all the things out of the recycle bin that don't belong in there. We have a lot of wish cycling, and I'm guilty of it sometimes myself, is I want this to be recyclable, so I'm going to put it in the recycle bin. And so what we do at that facility is we make sure that everything is clean in there, and all the residual, unfortunately, does go to the landfill.
I highly encourage anyone who's like even thinking that might be an interesting thing to do, take him up on that offer. It is a very informative tour to see the whole process. And then you'll understand better what your monthly fees are paying for. So it's really incredible.
Thank you. Michael?
Jonathan, can you let everyone know how long it took you to build that facility? The bureaucracy that was involved?
21.
I was going to say about 20 years, 25 years since we had the initial conversations with the city. And yeah, the state regulations, of course, and getting through all the bureaucracy and red tape. It was
Not this city.
Not this city. No. Yes, to clarify. It was an arduous process, but we're very happy to be open there. And we are also open to the public, so if folks have things that they want to dump outside of their unlimited bulky collection that they can get here in Glendora, that's an option as well, of course.
It's a lot of emotional outcry tonight, and it struck me hard. I wrote a bunch of notes and everything on here, and Jonathan answered quite a few. Unfortunately, part of this process is a mandate from the state of California that we have to implement. Adam, how long do we have to actually get this implemented?
City began to have its first public discussions on this during COVID, actually. So when we were 100% remote was our first public involvement in that. In fact, we invited the state to come, and I believe Councilmember Thompson had an exchange with a couple of the representatives from the state and expressed his frustration with the laws that were passed. On the single-family residential and other services that have 3 bins, this transition started 3 years ago now, Jonathan, is that correct?
I believe it was the end of 2022. So
End of
close to
2022, so 4 years ago now. And so the commercial is something that we've been talking about for a while. So we've had several years to prepare for this and get ready. The reason why we are before the council, just wanted to make sure that we addressed it, or the rate hearing is for 5 years, is that's the city's franchise agreement with Athens is a 20-year agreement, which is the same as many other cities in California. That's about how long franchise agreements are. The state, through the 218 process, allows for that 5-year period. Our agreement allows for the rate increases that are currently being proposed this evening. So this rate hearing is just a public vetting in case individuals have concerns and questions that they can bring them forward. But the underlying sort of reason why we're here has actually been in the agreement that the city council passed several years ago. So, and while that may be new information to many people, it's important to note that this has been the case for a while. But Jonathan and the other staff that are back there have always been really good about meeting with individuals. If there are questions about service, not necessarily with the account, they definitely will meet with you. So, and any issue that Stephanie has or Valerie has, Athens is always willing to jump in. So, a long answer, but it's been years we've been, having public meetings on this, and no matter how hard you try, it's almost impossible to get the information out to everyone.
Danny, I'm going to put you on the spot just a little bit. I know that you put a lot of time and effort into negotiating the contracts and everything of that nature. Can you speak a little bit about the work that you had to go through to get to this point?
Well, I had to arm wrestle Jonathan over it, and ultimately we won. So, we spent months. Yeah, we when they came to us with the amendment to the contract, we spent months working with them on Zoom calls and meetings with their team and our team, and it took a long time to get through.
So it sounds like there's a lot of communication issues with the parks. Is there any way that the city can facilitate any discussion legally with any of the parks? Can we be involved in any manner in this situation to help facilitate dialogue?
can highly encourage them to sit down with Athens and the,
Can we do that? Does staff do that?
it's a service provided by Athens.
But can we be a facilitator with Athens and the park owners?
We can help out and encourage, but there are certain requirements that we can't oversight.
That's why I'm asking, where's the line that we can be involved?
Give me a scenario.
So can we set up a meeting with the owners and the residents of the park with Athens and be a bump on the log, as it were?
I don't know what level of account information we have off the top of my head for the individual owners, if they're individual units that have the accounts, or it sounds like the more of the issue is within the units that don't have their individual accounts, but it's a major account. But we could definitely encourage that, but being the ones that facilitate that conversation could be a little bit difficult.
Is there a legal issue for us to be involved?
It creates a legal risks. You're imposing yourself in between the various legal relationships between the coach owners and their and the property manager and the HOA and then with Athens. So you can, I would say, encourage the dialogue and conversation.
Short answer is no.
We can't, the city can't say, or we don't have any municipal code sections, for example, that say you must provide individual accounts to these individuals living in there as part of your CUP. Those types of laws don't exist.
Only
And
bringing the
so,
parties together.
yeah, we could definitely encourage it.
And if I could just jump in and give you an example. So the specific HOA that mobile home park that I mentioned earlier, I won't name it by name, but that was brought to my attention this morning. And I had one of our outreach folks reach out to that property manager. He had tried previously, back when we were doing our initial round of outreach, and had never received a call back from that property manager. He called them this morning, left a message. He called them again this afternoon and got through to that person and spoke with them about this issue specifically, and is going to go out there next week and meet with them again. So I just want you to know that, and that's a true life example. We heard about that this morning, and we reached out to that property today. So we will continue to do that if there are specific ones. Again, I'm happy to kind of take down a list. I have notes as well from folks who spoke, and make sure that we're going out there and meeting with the appropriate parties. I will just piggyback on what the city attorney said. There are some challenges, even from our perspective, with the communication between, an individual, maybe unit owner and the landlord, right, or the property management company, and then us, because that does complicate things a little bit, and it makes it a little nuanced compared to some of the other setups.
That's why I'm trying to clarify for the folks in the audience what we can and can't do. But I'd like to be able to help them somehow. Now, if a property owner wanted to go to individual bin service, do they have that ability to do so?
They have an ability to do that. Ultimately, we make that determination as the service provider. It comes down to safety and whether or not we can get our trucks in there. Certain places, there's, literally the roads aren't wide enough to get certain types of vehicles in there. There are also issues, as I mentioned earlier, where we try to switch people to single family. We had this happen in another city, and we got complaints that people didn't have space in their garages, but yet their HOA told us that the garages were literally built for 3 of the 64-gallon containers. So as you can tell, it gets a little bit complicated, but we're always happy to have that conversation with folks and try to make a determination that's going to be pleasing to everybody.
So on a commercial billing, they're being billed once a month as opposed to bi-monthly?
Correct. Multifamily and commercial are billed monthly, as opposed to single-family residential, which is billed quarterly.
Can that change?
I don't believe so. That's a complicated question. It's certainly something we could look into, though. I think that's pretty standard practice, that those are billed monthly as opposed to quarterly. And in fact, again, just not to speak specifically to anyone tonight, but that keeps your monthly bill at least feeling a little bit more tolerable than having to pay for 3 months at a time.
So what I would ask, if you could at a future date come back and report back to us the conversations you've had with the property owners and other folks that are involved with this. At least we have an idea of what's going on, since you are our contractor, if you will, so that we have an idea and the folks can come here and listen to what you have to say of your progress. We heard it loud and clear that they haven't been notified, but then not necessarily their situation is because of the property owner. A little complicated. I think Adam wants to say something, but if somehow we can communicate that back so that they are aware of what's going on.
The other thing I would mention is if there are specific parks or property owners, period, in each of your respective districts. And I've mentioned this, and I'll say it again. Please let us know if you receive a specific concern from a park or a resident or even a commercial business. Please let us know. I think hopefully you all know by now that we're pretty responsive and we pride ourselves on that. So please continue to do that.
Right, but when you come here, people can watch this at a later date because it's recorded, and more information can get put out there for communication. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Mendel.
Let me be nice for a moment or two. This is not to patronize you, but a lot of this has been brought on by our state laws. And that is very, very true. That's not an excuse, that's a fact. And there's a lot of reasons for it, but I'm 72 years old, and trash is not now the way trash used to be. And that's probably good in a lot of ways, because the things that we do with trash now are pretty impressive in terms of how we use the trash for really some awesome things. And unfortunately, you and other companies like you are forced to comply with state law. And as everything does, it trickles down. And whether you own a mansion or just a normal average house, you're still compelled to enforce what state law is. I'm also a huge fan of Athens. We've had them for a long time, and that spirit has come as a result of what Danny has done and other folks that have sat in his seat, as well as these seats, that we have confronted you, not you, but the company, and have battled in a civil way, but we have spoken bluntly and boldly, and I believe that for most of it, we have won, and you have listened, and you have helped us, and you do a whole lot more for us than other cities get. With that said, and as you and I have battled and talked, and we will continue to talk, you've heard that there's really some needs here. And I just want you all to know this is a man that you can trust. He and his team will come out and meet with you. It sounds like that needs to occur. It needs to occur not only for each of you, but for the manager of your park or HOA board or whatever. And I'm confident that some good exchange can happen there. So let me ask you this. In our latest round, you have accommodated us with a senior discount. Are there any other ways that you can accommodate folks with their economic life and the challenge that ever-changing state law requires of you, and then you pass that on to us in order to keep your business going? If there are some kind of services, some programs like that, maybe you could take a minute or two to talk about those. If there aren't, then publicly I want to challenge you and Athens to consider the plight of this lady here who's getting her start in life, working for a school board, a district, and giving her life to whatever she's doing there, but ultimately to kids, which we applaud, and is a noble cause. The daughter that I have is a 7th grade teacher, and she comes home at night with crazy stories and emotions, so I get it. So are there other ways that you can help people with the challenge of this bill? And if there's not, then would you agree that you would talk to your team?
Yes, and I'll be happy to answer those questions and comments. I'm going to begin by saying that my wife is also a 7th grade teacher.
Oh, there you go. Yes,
So
that's right.
That was a softball. You didn't know that, but
That's right, no.
she'd be mad. I don't think she's watching, but if I didn't say that. So, but no, thank you for the question. I do just want to clarify. Yes, Senate Bill 1383 and some of the other state laws that govern our industry, for better or for worse, they're like some of the housing mandates that the state sends down.
Right.
The city is actually the party who is liable for compliance. So
Right.
I just want to make sure that is clear.
Right.
But then the city contracts with Athens, or like you said, a similar provider to help ensure that compliance, and that is what has brought us to this point. First for the single family, and now for the commercial and the multifamily. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we are really partners in that, and I think you mentioned kind of our long-term partnership, and I think there are a lot of benefits to that. I think both for the city as well as for Athens, of course. So, as you mentioned, yes, we did introduce as part of this amendment that the council approved in June. We did introduce a senior discount at the request of the council, and that is something that I know that staff is already anticipating getting applications for. In fact, we were just talking about it earlier today. So I will mention that again. That is only for seniors, of course.
Right.
So it doesn't apply to everyone. And we've also made a commitment to this body that if that is oversubscribed, in the first period, let's say, that we will come back and meet and confer and consider expanding that. So you still have our commitment on that. The other thing I want to mention is I know there's been a little bit of confusion about kind of what is changing and what is not changing specifically for the parks, which has just come up in the last few days. Again, I want to reiterate that in order to be compliant with the law, each account, so in this case, it could be 12 units, it could be 100 units, it could be 300 units, is only required under the law to have one recycling container to be compliant. And that one recycling container, you can check me in the notice that you got or in your agenda packet, is $27.56 per month. Now that is then, I would imagine if I were the property manager that I would split that evenly among my tenants. So I just want to reiterate in the example that I used earlier with 178 people, that comes down to about, this was my back of the napkin math, about 30 cents a month difference. So I just want to mention that just out of an abundance of clarity before I continue. And then the last thing I'll say, which is a big one, and I know we spent a lot of time discussing this in previous council meetings as well, is the opportunity for accounts, whether they be large accounts of 150, individual, residents at a park, or an individual, business, for instance, to convert their trash containers to recycling containers, which are less expensive for the customer, they're less expensive for us to process, there's more residual value in them, of course, and it also keeps more material out of the landfill, and it gets to our MRF over in Irwindale. So that is kind of, I think, the biggest opportunity here. And like I mentioned, we've already done a lot of the outreach with these properties to say, hey, right now, let's say you have 14 trash bins. You might be able to change over 3 or 4 of those trash bins to recycling containers, because ultimately what many of us, at least speaking for myself, are throwing away on a daily basis are cardboard boxes and pieces of paper and junk mail and things like that. That can all go in the recycling container. And if somebody converts from the trash to the recycling, this is a huge opportunity to actually, in some cases, save on their monthly bill compared to what they're paying now. I'm going to say this again. I don't know what then the property manager decides to do in terms of the rate that they're charging to their tenants on a monthly basis. That is not the business that we're in. That's not the business that the city's in. So I just want to make that clear again. But I think that's the biggest opportunity here with this program, is for folks to do that conversion, to put more into the recycling container and actually save money compared to what they were paying a month ago or a year ago.
Yeah. Could you give us about a minute, overview of what the senior deal is? Because
Yes.
some of you can take advantage. Sometimes there's Pardon?
They're getting charged by the mobile home park, not by Athens.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, but maybe they can go, huh? Okay. So, but the condo guys are on their own, right?
Typically, yeah.
So there
it
might be
depends,
some
yeah.
seniors that are in there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if someone is an account holder and they meet the income eligibility requirements, there's an application that can be found online, or you can get it through the city or through Public Works specifically. It can be, submitted here at City Hall with the appropriate sort of, income qualification documents, like if you qualify maybe on your electric bill or something like that. And then folks can get a discount on their monthly or on their quarterly trash bill in that case.
The discount is
10%.
10%.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, you've heard, so you know what you're, what you can do. Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mendel. You know what? Yes, please come up. We did have one more additional comment. I'll take that now, and please come up. Kevin, wasn't it?
I just want to just add to what our first speaker, sorry, I don't remember your name, Stephanie. The question that she asked originally was why 5 years? I think that's the biggest question for many of us. And yeah, please. Were you going to answer?
Oh,
You'd like to hear it
do
again.
you want us to go over that part again? We did answer that specifically.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I feel like we're a little bit unclear about that. I understand the process, understand that what everybody's saying, but when we talk about the state imposing regulations, bills on people, understand that as well. But Athens is not going broke. In fact, Athens is expanding from what we can see. What I'm concerned about is Stephanie and other people who are saying that literally she might not be able to stay in her home because of trash. And I didn't pay $900,000. I didn't pay the median price at anywhere close to the median price for my condo. I feel like a lot of us here didn't as well. And it's a struggle to get through, and to hear that via a letter, which doesn't describe any of the wonderful things that we're doing with trash. It just says you're going to have your trash rates raised over a 5-year period, and that's it, is alarming to a lot of us. And the one other thing I just wanted to say for the record, like before, is that when we went through the transition in a multi-tenant condominium complex to the recycling program, it did not go smoothly. And I trust you. I do. I know what, I understand, I appreciate what you're doing, but we had a representative from Athens who did not meet us at the appointed time multiple times. We worked with our property manager through the HOA. It took months to get the thing resolved, and we were just told, you can't use your regular bins anymore. Here are the new bins. They were too big. They didn't fit anywhere. We changed our regulations so people could store them. Eventually, everything got worked out, but the idea that everything is going to go smoothly, I think, is a little bit, it feels naive, right? And where is the accountability, I think, is the question that we're all asking. Just wanted to add that to the record. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, and thank you, Jonathan, and the rest of the Athens team for being here. I know that where I work, that the representative has been trying to educate folks on what that change is going to be and how we can save money. One of the concerns that I heard all of you state, that I hope that conversation can take place with Athens and the property manager and residents, because it sounds like maybe my hope would be that the cost that is passed on to you is actual cost and not, so maybe in having some of those conversations that can come up. But I heard another concern, and I know in my house, when people put the wrong trash in the wrong bin, I get very upset. And so I can't even imagine if your neighbor is putting the wrong trash in the wrong bin, and then if you're concerned that you're going to be fined for that. So Jonathan, could you address that question and how that might be handled and be an issue in a multifamily situation? Because it sounds like that was one of their concerns.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a challenge, right? Because then it's sort of incumbent upon the property manager to
Right.
identify, was it a resident? And if so, which resident was it? Or was it somebody, with illegal dumping or something like that? Certainly, if there are cases of illegal dumping or elsewise, we can work with the city and code enforcement to address those. But yeah, I will mention that typically what we'll do is we will put a warning tag on a bin if there is significant contamination in it. We'll usually do that 2 or 3 times at a minimum before we would impose any sort of fine. I will also mention that all of those are documented. So if somebody says, "Oh, we got fined for an overage or for contamination or something like that," and we don't believe it's true, we have documentation of all of those. Our drivers are trained actually to take a photo of what's in the bin or the lid not closing or whatever the case is. Another thing we can absolutely look at in some of these scenarios is a locked lid. I know that creates some logistical challenges for people, but it does help, keep unwanted things or unwanted people out of your trash containers. So there are a number of different options. I know there are also space constraints, which we've talked about before, and we're introducing split bin as an option for some of our commercial customers, particularly in the downtown core. So there are lots of options for folks, but we understand the illegal dumping and that happens everywhere, unfortunately. That's not unique to Glendora.
Unfortunately, that was an issue at our church. I mean, you would think, people are going to be afraid of a lightning bolt if they keep doing that, but and Athens worked with us, and we ultimately had to lock our trash. And Athens was very kind in helping us figure out what kind of a lock that made it easy for all of our volunteers to get into the trash on a regular basis and have their employees be able to dump it. So there are some solutions if that becomes an issue, and we appreciate that. For us, you helped us work through that because people were taking advantage. And we did get one of those lovely notes once upon a time about some things in the trash that we did not put there. So that can be a problem in a commercial entity. So yeah, thank you for being willing to go and talk with them, because it sounds like there are definitely some issues that need to be worked out within the management and the residents to try to help with that. And then, reminding folks what those different options are, whether it's the split can, trading out some cans, and that people haven't gotten those blue cans yet until this goes into effect. So, all right, well, thank you.
Thank you. And if I could just add on to that and address Brian's comments, I want to apologize for the experience that your complex had 4 years ago. That is not obviously the standard that our company hopes to be at. So we'll be happy to work with you, obviously, on this one or anything going forward. If there's anything you have an issue with, please let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Ms. Bagwell had a question. Did you have another question? Did you wish to? Okay. All right. Yes.
I know this is not how city council meetings go, and I know there's
It's a
rule of law
community.
to it. I'm a union leader for the district that I work for, and so I appreciate the back and forth. I appreciate allowing the comments and just the back and forth conversation. This is my first city council meeting in the city of Glendora, and there will definitely be more.
Okay. I think the give and take has been very good, and there's big ears in the room. We're listening. I'm not an employee of Athens, and I just spent a weekend with 41 other cities, and there were several trash receptacle vendors there. Let me tell you, those that are served by Athens are very pleased and very lucky, and we are. We hear some questions about productivity and performance. I think I know for a fact that if staff hears, Public Works hears about an issue with a trash-related issue, it's addressed that day. It's not put on to a performance somewhere down the road. It's addressed in very real time, and Athens is responsive. I'm not going to say it's always favorable one way or the other, but it is a very positive relationship that is addressed that I know not all the communities around us enjoy. So I think we get good service. We talk about why the tenure of time. I spent my life in the logistics and transportation world, and I know what trucks cost. Bet you don't believe that trash truck that ran up and down your street today is $700,000. Okay, it's nuts. And they have to amortize that out. They can't buy that truck every 2 years on the fact of changing cities or changing customers. They have to balance the fleet to the customer demand. So that's why they ask for lengthy contracts, is to be able to make the investment for the equipment needed and realize their investment gets paid off. So it's sad. It's sad of the cost, but that's the reality. So with that, I don't think, unless there's other comments, I see a green light here, so Michael,
I was
if you
just going
would.
to make a motion to move items 1 through 5.
So,
So
wait,
can we
yeah,
Can't
first,
do that yet.
can we first please reclose public testimony?
Yes.
And then close the public comment?
Absolutely. I shall close public testimony, close the public hearing.
Public hearing, sorry.
And bring it back to the staff, because we do have to tabulate ballots and determine whether there's a majority protest or not. And then at such point, we may or may not entertain a motion.
So Mayor, at this time, I'd like to announce that 74 valid protests have been received representing 0.51%, which does not constitute a majority protest. Therefore, it is appropriate for the City Council to adopt the proposed resolution approving residential and commercial solid waste and recycling service rates. Can I please request a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Alawas, a second by Mr. Thompson, and I'll ask us to kindly vote. The motion carries unanimous 5-0, but I remind us all that I think the dialogue tonight was healthy and the concerns heard, and I'm confident that our service provider will reach out and do the best they can to address the concerns. So, thank you with that. Moving on to the consent calendar. Items 5 through 14 on the consent calendar may be enacted by one motion without individual discussion unless a member of the body wishes to request removal for separate discussion.
I'll
Does
move
anyone
I-
wi- Does anyone wish to pull an item?
I'll move items 5 through 14.
Second.
Movement. Motion by Mr. Alawas, a second by Mr. Thompson. Items 5 through 14, please. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Motion carried 5-0. Okay, moving to item 15, unfinished business. The consideration of an agreement for public works services to All American Asphalt for the Lone Hill Avenue Street Rehabilitation Project, covering space from Route 66 south to the San Dimas Wash on Lone Hill Avenue. Plan number 1288, for a total not to exceed $1,705,044. Presenting is Assistant Public Works Director Valerie Velasquez Santoya. Welcome.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Good evening, Council. So streets are a priority, as we know. We've been working on how we can improve our street network. With the workshop that we recently had, Council committed to nearly improving 1.4 million of our streets, square footage of our streets, including segments of Route 66, Sunflower, Juanita, and Valley Center. And then we have an additional about 1 million square feet under design with street and water projects, including Glendora Avenue, Cypress, and Colorado. So tonight, I'm pleased to bring forward requesting Council's approval for a construction award for the Lone Hill Avenue Street Rehabilitation Project. So this project will improve Lone Hill Avenue from Route 66 to the San Dimas Wash. It's approximately 230,000 square feet. It will include a 2-inch grind and overlay using rubberized hot mix asphalt. It does include the segment that goes under the 210 underpass. So this project has been in the works for quite some time, working with Caltrans and getting that encroachment permit that is required. It's going to address structural failures at various sections along this segment of Lone Hill. The PCI ranges here from 22 to 72. Much of the area is lower, so definitely needs work here. We're going to adjust some utility valves and manholes, replace traffic loops, and of course, new striping and markings. So here's just a map just to show you. Again, the project covers Lone Hill Avenue, Route 66 to the San Dimas Wash, including the underpass at the 210. And then with regards to the proposals received or the bid process, we released a notice inviting bids back in March. There was a bid opening in April. 7 bids were received, ranging from $920,000 to $1.9 million. However, the lowest bid was found to be non-responsive. The proposal was incomplete. So the lowest responsible bidder was All American Asphalt in the amount of $1,550,040. The project is included in our approved capital improvement fiscal year 26 budget. We will be using transportation funds. We have funds from the STPL, Fund 257 in the amount of approximately $1.4 million, and then another $470,000 from Prop C funds for a total of $1.875 million that was budgeted for this project. And then below you'll see the costs that are associated with this project, including bid advertisement, construction design support, Caltrans submittals, inspections, construction management, and of course the item tonight is the construction with All American at $1,550,000, a 10% contingency that brings that total to the $1.7 million. And again, we are within budget with the remaining balance of $80,000. So tonight the recommendation is that council determine the Lone Hill Avenue Street Rehab Project is categorically exempt from CEQA. Award and approve the agreement to All American Asphalt in the amount of $1,550,000. Authorize a 10% contingency in the amount of $155,000, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement and any necessary change orders. And with that, I'll return it to council for any questions.
Thank you, Valerie. I'll bring it back to council. Do we have any questions? Mendel.
Thank you. This is going to be great. That road is a mess. The picture actually you showed was probably the better part of the road because there's a fission or whatever that gap is. And yeah, there's a lot of people that drive this on the east side of town. When is it going to be done or started or?
We'll probably be starting later this year. We'll still need to work with Caltrans, make sure they're aware we're starting and go from
But the holidays, you're not going to be doing it
We
during
will,
Christmas
yes,
when
we will try to have this
1,000
done.
people are going to Walmart and Sam's Club
We will keep that
every
in mind.
hour.
And yes, correct.
Okay, so you'll be sensitive to all of
We will be sensitive and try to mitigate that impact.
And is there any way that a lot of this could be done at night? Because traffic flow on going to the 210 to the 57, people going to work and coming home, those are horrendous times for the flow. So
We'll
any
take that
thought to
all
doing some of this at night?
I will check with that. We'll take it all into
I mean,
consideration.
I don't know. I don't want to up the bid because I know that night is probably more money, but.
Got grinding noise too, that's.
Yeah, the grinding, yeah. But the traffic flow is just really intense, as we all learned when our goal line was being built and people lost their ever-loving minds when they had to wait for more than the patience for those lights and those things to get done. So
Right.
if you could be just aware of that and sensitive to, that the people that use that road will appreciate that. But I think this is great, so thank you for getting this done.
Karen? Okay, and I have no questions. I'll entertain a motion, please.
I have a question.
Oh, question, sorry.
You went that way, not this way.
Well, I figured that was just your hair trigger on the motion, so.
No, that's all right. Just a quick question. How many lane miles does this add up to?
I think it's under 1. I think it's about 0.8. I could be wrong. It's about 233. We use the square feet, but I believe it's about, we'd have to measure from that area. It's probably roughly 1. I think it's a little under 1 mile.
Yeah, so then add 2 lanes each, so 4 lane miles?
Why do we have to give Caltrans any money since we're helping improve underneath their, some of the
I think
area
it's
there?
part of their encroachment and the permitting process that we need to work within their right-of-way.
So they won't pay us for taking care of their right-of-way? Have to ask,
Wishful
come on.
thinking.
No, it's the state of California who also took 2.5 years to approve our permit to try to get the paving done. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
They
Put a number
continue
to
to be
that.
amazing, yeah.
Thank you, Valerie, for your report. I'm good. I'll move items 1 through 4.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Alamo, second by
Second.
Mr. Thompson. The M's have it tonight. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Thank you. Item 16, a fiscal impact analysis of Glendora Island annexation proceedings and an update of this process, which has been in the works for a while. And presenting is Community Development Director Jeff Kugel. Welcome, Jeff.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. We're here tonight to report on the Island Annexation Project, which is the proposal to annex the remaining unincorporated islands within the City of Glendora, to discuss the fiscal impact analysis and to request direction from the Council regarding next steps. Where we've come from and why we are here: back in 2023, the Council on their strategic plan identified to look at islands that have not been incorporated into the city's city limits, that are, however, within the city's sphere of influence. And since that time, we have contracted, or the council approved a contract with RSG to help us complete and we've completed the main technical work of the project, which includes mapping the remaining unincorporated islands, preparing legal descriptions, looking at municipal services within these areas, and completing a fiscal analysis, as well as holding some preliminary meetings with LAFCO, which is the California Local Agency Formation Commission serving LA County, as well as staff and representatives from Los Angeles County itself. Tonight, we will be asking council whether to continue with the process to narrow the scope or even alter the scope of the project. This slide shows the 5 small unincorporated pockets or areas or islands, as they're called, within the city of Glendora, that are within the city's sphere of influence but are not yet incorporated into the city limits. I think significant to note that the original city boundaries of Glendora were actually quite small, and over the last several decades, the city has added land through annexation, particularly during the years when the city was developing from the 60s through the 80s. The area of the annexation covers about 670 acres, all 5 areas, 220 parcels, a total of 640 residents. I would say that Area 1 in the northeast section of the city is the largest at about 570 acres, and the other 4 areas are much smaller and generally developed with single-family residences. This slide shows Area 1. And Area 1 is largely, that's the undeveloped area in the northeast part of the city. Most of it is natural hillside of Glendora Mountain Road. Most of it, actually all of it, is owned by public or quasi-public entities. So we've sort of taken a small amount out of that and created an Area 1B that in theory could be annexed, or we'd ask the county and LAFCO if that would be acceptable, which includes only the properties that are currently owned by the city of Glendora. So we actually own property that's actually outside of our city limits. The timeline that we've followed so far, again, back in 2023, this was part of the city's strategic plan. In 2024, we got direction from council to proceed, completed mapping, legal descriptions of the different areas, have met with the County of Los Angeles as well as LAFCO. In the spring of 2026, as we were completing the fiscal analysis, we went a step further and we did some pavement analysis of the areas, as the council had previously done a citywide pavement analysis to obtain an average PCI score as well as set goals. And so we included that information within the fiscal analysis, and it also affects what the cost of absorbing these unincorporated areas into the city would be. In terms of the types of the municipal services in each of these areas, much of the services that are provided would remain the same. However, the provider would change. Police services would go from the county sheriff to the city of Glendora. Code enforcement would transfer over to the city of Glendora. Street and road maintenance, light maintenance, animal control. Some of the services would remain the same. LA County Fire covers both the city of Glendora as well as these unincorporated areas. Water, sewer services would also remain the same, and other services that are currently provided by the County of Los Angeles to the city and other areas. There is a fiscal impact that's contained in the report in detail, showing that the additional revenue generated by annexing these areas is primarily derived from property taxes, as there don't include any commercial areas. And many of the largest area in the Northeast is largely exempt from any taxes at all, so there's very little revenue, if any, generated by that area because it's mostly government-owned or owned by a nonprofit entity. So the total amount, or the estimated amount of property tax and other tax revenue, is about $150,000. And then the net cost, or the cost associated with absorbing these areas, is about $1.2 to $1.3 million. Some of the large portions of that cost include some one-time costs, including a prospective or potential signal at a corner of Sierra Madre and Barranca that was identified as meeting warrants during the period where we were entitling the La Colina development. And also, if the council wanted to put on their slate of capital projects to bring these areas up to a PCI score that they've set for themselves for other areas of the city, there would be costs associated with that as well. So we would be, on an ongoing basis, we estimate we would run a deficit of revenue to costs of between $600,000 and $700,000 a year. Next steps, going through the local agency formation commission process, would be to complete the pre-zoning of the areas, which would be an ordinance that the council would adopt to pre-zone how this land would come into the city from a zoning perspective, complete our fiscal analysis or wrap it up, as well as plan for services. And then once we approved and then submitted a application, we would have to complete a tax exchange agreement with the County of Los Angeles, which then dictates the amount or our share of the property tax that would come back to the city, which would be comparable to the share of property tax that we receive on property in the city, which is approximately 10% of the property tax paid. So we've come to the council with 3 alternatives, especially considering the fact that looking at the net cost of absorbing these areas to the city, for the council to consider moving forward. One would be to table this annexation process and sort of wait until we're about to kick off the comprehensive update to the general plan probably by the end of this year, and make it a part of that process. Number 2 would be to do a limited annexation of, we've heard the council express a desire that the property that's just outside the city to be part of the city, so that's why I threw out that option 1B for that area where the city owns property. or to move forward with the annexation of all 5 of these islands. And I would even include a 4th option, which would be any combination of the annexation, taking other areas that the council might direct staff to do. And so with that, that concludes my report. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate the update and quite clear, just not great choices, but quite clear. Thank you very much. Bring it back, Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, and I know that this is going to be crazy and you're probably going to laugh, but is there any chance that we could proceed with looking at that either as part of that general plan amendment or sometime prior to that, but first ask the county, hey, can you put in this light and make some of those improvements so that we're not bearing all of that cost if we were to annex those islands? Because some of those islands are very awkward because they're, pieces within the city. But, I know that we've been waiting for the county to do some of those things. And many times some of those residents in those county islands, tell us, oh, my roads are terrible, I don't have any sidewalk. And we have to say, it's because you're the county and they're not taking care of you. So is there any option 4 that maybe takes in the 1B and then asks for the county to make some improvements before we proceed forward? Or is that totally crazy?
I've only gone through 1 annexation in my, career in local government. I know it's, my experience that time is that you're limited in what you can negotiate, but doesn't mean, you can't ask for things or go to the county and, have those types of conversations. When it comes to, or if you're asking them to do improvements to the property that
At least maybe the light.
Yeah, then, they did decide not to do that light when it passed warrants at that intersection. So it's hard to say what their response would be.
Yeah, because, when we're especially right now looking at facilities and there are many of these concerns and we're being asked to weigh the resources that we have to put ourselves in a negative situation with those properties right away, doesn't seem like necessarily something that we want to rush into right at this minute, but that's just my thought on that.
Okay, thank you. Michael.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for the presentation. How many annexations has RSG done?
I know we have Carol from RSG who's here remotely. If she wants to, Carol, I think she can answer. You can let her answer that question if she's on.
Yeah. Hello, Council. My name is Carol Newman, associate with RSG. Our firm has done several annexations. We're currently working on the one before you today, as well as one in the city of Belmont. We've done them in the city of Citrus Heights, Martinez, Capitola. The list can go on. We have some of our qualms that were attached in our proposal, which I'm happy to share with the council following this meeting. I've been with the firm for 2 years, and within my time here, we've had about 6 or 7 annexation projects under our belt, and before then, there's upwards of 10, 20. Our principal's not here to confirm that amount prior to my joining the firm, but we've have ample experience in annexations as well as reorganization studies. And we work with several LAFCOs on other projects as well.
So in this process, do you negotiate with the county CEO for amenities and/or what the tax rate would be?
So we do have, as part of this process, we are able and willing to facilitate in those negotiations on behalf of the city with the county. In this particular case, in specific to the improvements. I think it's really just dependent on kind of the county's preference and practice. But as you know, Jeff mentioned, the city can certainly work to discuss with them, and we are happy to help facilitate that conversation.
If I got this right, I noticed through the report that you folks did that you basically took the current property tax that's in the area and you didn't upsize it for possible negotiations of a range, because I believe our low is about 5.38% in property tax for the city, and the high is 16.5% for the city. And you know, Glendora is made up of annexations, and we have a gazillion different tax rates here. So what's the likelihood of being able to upsize that income of property tax from the county?
You know, that's really hard to decide, because from our understanding, the county and from our early preliminary discussions, they really follow a formulaic approach to calculating the property tax transfer, and they find that approach suitable in their perspective. And so, while in theory this is, you know, the city can negotiate with the county and advocate for a higher property share of taxes, but it has been in our experience that these circumstances are extremely rare, and it would be best to address this directly with the supervisor's office, and you know, kind of see if there's any political will to engage in such a discussion. But from our understanding, in terms of the formula used in LA County, it's looking at an adjacent tax rate area and applying that amount, and the county will decide which adjacent tax rate area to use, and it's hard for us to determine which one they might default to.
And that was our experience. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, please, Jeff.
And that was our experience when we did the annexation associated with the La Colina development, is the county used a formula. They decided which tax area zone that they were going to choose as comparable, and that was how there was no negotiation per se where there was a give and take in that process.
Yeah, I would just add to that, the actual property tax share estimates are included on page 9 of the attachment. They provide the 5 tax rate areas, the share to the cities anticipated by the adjacent tax rate areas to range from 10.58% in Area 1, 9.42% in Area 2, 11.97% in Area 3, which would be great. That's higher, higher than average for sure. 10.26% in Area 4 and 10.07% in Area 5. And so, Councilmember, as you mentioned, there's thousands of tax rate areas in the city based on decisions that were made many, many years ago in the late 70s.
Several pages.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So these are about, on average, about what the city gets across the entire agency. Even if we doubled some of those, we'd still face some estimated shortfalls, which are largely predicated on some of the streets included in here are in bad shape. Really, really, really bad shape. And so to bring them up to a PCI score of 70 over a 70-year period, which is the council's goal, that's the estimated costs included in the estimates.
So I'll segue to that because I had some other questions. I did reach out to the county to find out what their schedule was for the impacted areas. And all the areas in 3, 4, and 5 are scheduled to be repaved 2029 to 2030 under the Monolith Avenue Phase 1 plan. So they had given me that information. So perhaps if we do go forward, which I'm in favor of going forward at least for areas 3, 4, and 5, and we can possibly use that as a negotiation since it's already on their schedule to maintain and to fix the roads.
Yeah, we had previously reached out to them and said, we'll even pay for it if you pay us back. And they declined that option at the time.
It's on their schedule right now for repavement.
Yeah.
They already have a plan for it. On the traffic, what traffic warrant level is Sierra Madre and Barranca?
I have not seen that warrant study. The warrant study that I'm aware that the county did was probably around 2010 to 12 period. So that was shared. That information was shared with us during the entitlement process for La Colina.
So at the time when they did the improvements to that intersection way back in the day, they estimated that signal to be about $1 million. And we have on here $500,000. Are we concerned with that $500,000 number? Is that accurate?
That was a sort of a back of the napkin, estimate that we got from Public Works. This is what would it cost to signalize that intersection?
Okay. I'll hang on for now. Let someone else go for the moment.
Okay. Shauna?
We had an extensive discussion this morning at our briefing, so I'm going to defer to Mendel because we came to a consensus and Karen's already hit the nail on the head of what we talked about. So I'm going to defer to Mendel.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to go first because a couple of things, and then it sounds like there may be some options there. So my first thought is I'm wondering why for 14 years the county hasn't given a rip about having a signal there, and suddenly they decide it needs a signal. I'm saying, goodbye, county, no way. Why should we? Or if it was that important, and I'm not saying there shouldn't be one, it's a complicated intersection, but it's making it now, and it's not worth our investment to create such, so I wouldn't accept that at all. I'd like to see us move forward with the process. I like the 1B. I don't want to own the national forest. I think what's, in fact, your map even goes a little more generous to the gate than I might have, but it's in the right idea. I definitely think we need to look at 3, 4, and 5. All of 2. 2 is just a little sliver, and I don't think that entity is going to feel it. So I'd like to see us proceed. If we put it into the general plan another 3 to 5 years down the road, are we going to be back in this same conversation? I'm afraid we will, and not have gained enough. So with that, it's my input, and I'll defer to Mendel.
Well, in light of the time frame, I like to propose a motion, which would be an option 4, and that is to eliminate areas 1 and 2 and continue to explore 3, 4, and 5, with the caveat that the county be required to make all applicable street improvements of 3, 4, and 5 and fund the proposed light at the intersection that is in, our report.
I'll second that motion.
I have a question okay, we have a motion and a second. Why would you want to eliminate 1 and 2? Just curiosity.
Well, I don't want to own and be required to service a bunch of forest land. Second of all, as per our report, Area 1 would cost us $475,000, and as Karen has said, Michael has alluded to, we're in a budget area that is, we're looking at expenses versus what we can spend on other things, and I just don't think that we need to expend the funds that are apparently tied to that and the cost and everything. And I just think that we'd be doing good to get the areas that I have asked for. So,
Would you be willing to look at the 1B now that he added that as an option, or?
Yeah, that's
you
my
don't
thought.
like
Is
it?
1B brings the Big Dalton Wilderness Park into city control, and I agree. I don't want to own the
Yeah.
forest.
Yeah.
It basically parallels Big Dalton Road, maybe a little further north. There's a couple of parcels in there that we could even slim it down a little more and narrow that.
yeah, I'd be fine with that. I was just looking at the global
Agreed.
Area 1 and but Area 1B would be fine for us to do that. I mean, I would support that.
I'd support that as well.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Just to be clear, it sounds like Mayor, your comments were, would you want staff, if that motion passes, to explore even a more modified 1B?
Possibly, if we look at the parcels that end with 36271.
The cities.
36272, which narrows that even further, not going up the hill, not even to the gate. You know, I say the gate that the highway patrol closes the road at certain times.
Yeah, I think
That
Captain
brings it even
Stabia
to
would be
street
happy that if we didn't
Yeah,
have jurisdiction
we're
over
not
that road.
responding to- Yeah, I agree. So I just narrowing those
Okay.
parcels would
Captain says
make it
yes.
even more attractive in my mind.
I just have a quick question, though.
Yeah.
It was mentioned in the report, maybe I misunderstood it, about the Cienega water. We would not assume that, would we?
Well, that's in area 2, I believe.
Yeah, that's
But
area
if
2.
if we were to assume that we would not assume Cienega water.
That's
'cause
correct.
it's private.
There would be other legal challenges with area
Right.
2. That's correct.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Jeff or anyone else, part of this process obviously involves public outreach, and it's been my understanding, well, not understanding, my experience in doing annexations like this, that's when you get more of the community's feedback and input, and some of the other challenges start arising. You want to talk a little bit about the public process as we move forward and make those requests of the county, and how we engage our new potential residents?
Sure, yeah, we would, would obviously do an outreach program to all of the areas, inviting, open houses to share, what services they're getting, how those services would change, what it would be meaning to come into the city versus the services that they're getting from the County of Los Angeles right now. And because they live near Glendora, they're probably using many city facilities, including parks, the library, and other programs that the city offers. In terms of that outreach, of the populated areas, which I think are 3 and 4, 3, 4, and 5. 3 and 4 qualify for the streamlined annexation process, meaning they're under the threshold to require a vote, a protest vote, of the residents. So that can be an automatic annexation, assuming LAFCO approves it. The one area that may not be eligible for that streamlined process is Area 5, in part because it's part of an island that also includes areas that are within Azusa's sphere of influence. So in our initial conversations with LAFCO staff, they felt that area would be subject to a protest vote. So we'd have to do outreach, and if I think it's if more than 25% of the residents, were protesting the annexation, between 25 and 50%, then it would go to a vote. If it was more than 50% protesting, then the annexation proceeding would stop.
They wouldn't consider that as a bifurcation with the road?
The word we got back from LAFCO is that they would not. They would initially, at least, our conversations with the executive director was that they would generally probably consider that under the island law, because it's contiguous, even though it's within another city's sphere of influence, that they would consider it all one island.
Well, if we enforce that we don't allow fireworks, that side of Island 3 would say, oh, no, we want our fireworks.
Well, we wouldn't be required to take in areas that are within Azusa's sphere of influence, only that portion that's in Glendora's area, which is only the area east of Barranca.
Okay, good.
So one other thing, though, I mean, we're really close to that 50,000 population, and this would help us still to be above that number, so that we won't have to go through the county for funding if we drop below 50,000. And so we need to stay as an entitled city.
Yeah, I think that, what do they say, damn lies in statistics, right? So the federal government already says we're under 50,000, 49,400 and some change. State of California says we're at 51.5. So, and I think that's an interesting comment, is an entitlement city, a lot of CDBG home funding, for example, we would get directly. While we would still get some, it would come through the county if we dip under 50,000. But I think we are getting pretty close. And the reason why I gave the two different statistics is people ask our population all the time. It is declining. It's declined by several thousand people over the past 4 or 5 years. And so whether this keeps us over that magic number or not, I don't think staff can tell you that, because in one estimate, it wouldn't. In another estimate, it would help.
But it could help us.
Yeah,
Goes in the right direction. So if
it's
we don't
definitely a
become,
piece of information, yeah.
so if we don't become, if we lose our entitlement, then we have to go through the county for any grants?
That's correct for CDBG grants.
And currently, the population of all of the annexation, or of those areas are 639. So it's less than 1,000.
Still warm bodies
Yeah.
for the count.
Can we restate the motion, please? After some discussion, can we restate the motion?
The motion was.
Repeat the motion, not,
Does the one that's on deck include his adjustment?
It sounds like there's a motion to move forward with areas 3, 4, and 5, and with 1B, but only 36171 and 36272, and to require before moving forward or have conversations with the county, which we can report back on, about their road and traffic signal improvements.
Well, I mean, I was intending to require them, not have a conversation, but to require them to do applicable road work, repairs, and install the signal if that's still a mandate.
Councilman, I think we'd have to come back, because I think procedurally we have to submit before they allow us to go through the
Okay,
negotiation
all right.
period.
I mean, I just don't want to have a friendly chat when I'm
Yeah,
telling
no,
them
we
to pick
agree.
up the bill. That's
We
what
agree,
I'm saying.
Councilman, yeah.
But you know much more than I do about
Oh,
this.
staff's in
about this
100%
crazy
agreement.
dance,
We
so
we would love to ask, but it may be one of those that we have to come back to council.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
with an update.
That's fine.
okay? And it's
So there was a motion by,
not including Area 2?
Pardon?
It's excluding Area 2?
Yes, excluding Area 1 and, well, 2, yes.
Two, okay.
Excluding 2
Revised 1?
and revised 1B, yes. That was my motion.
and there was a motion by Councilmember Mendel Thompson and a second by Councilmember Michael Alawis.
Alawis, you're correct.
Okay, we need to vote. I need to vote. There we go. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously, 5-0. Thank you, Jeff, for the report. Stay tuned, I guess, right? Okay. That concludes our, oops, no, we don't. We got one more item. A new business item to consider an agreement with Parking Concepts, Inc., doing business as Transportation Concepts for operations and maintenance of Glendora Dial-A-Ride and public transit shuttle services for an initial term ending June 30, 2031, in the amount not to exceed $8,751,330. And presenting will be Kelsey Fay, I believe. There she is. Hi.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and City Council. So tonight I am presenting the recommendation to award an agreement with Parking Concepts, doing business as Transportation Concepts for the operations and maintenance of Glendora's Dial-A-Ride and public transit shuttle services. The proposed initial term extends through June 30th, 2031, with an amount not to exceed $8,751,330. So Glendora has contracted for transit operations with the same provider for more than 15 years. The current agreement was awarded in 2017 and included a 5-year base term with 2 optional 2-year extensions. To ensure continued high-quality service and compliance with procurement requirements, the city released a request for proposals on March 19th, 2026. The RFP closed on April 16th, and we received 2 proposals. Proposals came from 2 firms, Transportation Concepts and Parking Company of America. A 5-member evaluation team with staff from Recreation and Human Services, Finance, and Planning reviewed both submissions. Transportation Concepts submitted a cost of $8.75 million for the initial term, and Parking Company of America submitted $9.07 million. We interviewed both firms on May 12th, and through that process, Transportation Concepts demonstrated the strongest overall fit for the city's operational needs. The contract is structured at 21,000 annual revenue service hours, which reflects the long-term service target in the short-range transit plan and gives the city flexibility to grow into those hours as future short-range transit plan components are implemented. The plan also emphasizes that ridership takes time to mature, recommending that major service changes be phased in gradually and evaluated over the first 18 to 24 months. This aligns with our approach to scaling service responsibly as demand increases. As we evaluate ridership trends, community feedback, and operational performance each year, staff will continue identifying opportunities for phased service adjustments that align with the short-range transit plan. School outreach is also a key part of our transit plan. Next month, staff will be tabling at registration events and back-to-school nights at Goddard, Sandburg, and Royal Oak Middle Schools, as well as Glendora and Charter Oak High Schools, to promote both the midday shuttle and the community shuttle. These routes give students options to get around town after school, during the week, and on weekends. Although the agreement is structured at 21,000 hours, staff anticipates actual service levels during the first year to remain closer to 13,500 hours, with the potential to increase towards 17,000 hours in future years as the short-range transit plan components are implemented. In addition to planning for future expansion, staff continually evaluates how our current transit services are performing. Over the past year, we reviewed ridership on all existing routes, including the 3 midday shuttles, and made targeted adjustments based on usage patterns and community feedback. This includes modifying one of the midday lines to better serve students near Lone Hill and Route 66 and restructuring the A-Line shuttle. Previously, 2 separate shuttles connected to the Azusa A-Line station, and once the Glendora station opened, we consolidated that service into a single route that now provides direct access to our Glendora station. Transportation Concepts has been a consistently strong partner for Glendora, and their performance over the years has really demonstrated their understanding of our transit system and our community's needs. Their daily operations are reliable, and when issues do come up, they communicate with city staff quickly and clearly so that we can address them before they affect service. Their drivers and dispatch team continue to show professionalism and courtesy with our riders, which is especially important for a service that supports seniors, individuals with disabilities, and students. They maintain strong safety practices, meet all ADA requirements, and keep staffing levels stable so service is not disrupted. Vehicle maintenance is well managed with clear documentation and very few service interruptions due to mechanical issues. Their data reporting is timely and accurate, which helps us monitor ridership trends and plan for future adjustments. And when we have needed support for special requests, whether it's a pilot program, a community event, or temporary operational change, they've been flexible and responsive without impacting regular service. Overall, Transportation Concepts has shown dependable performance, strong communication, and a commitment to high-quality service delivery, which is why staff is confident in recommending them for this agreement. The revenue service hours outlined in the agreement serve as planning estimates. The city will only incur costs for the hours that are formally authorized and actually delivered. For fiscal year 26-27, sufficient funding has already been appropriated. The adopted mid-cycle budget includes $965,256 to support the first year of the agreement. As recommendations from the short-range transit plan advance and any service expansion is brought forward, staff will return to City Council with updates and any associated budget considerations. Staff recommends that City Council award an agreement to Parking Concepts, Inc. for the operations and maintenance of the Glendora Dial-A-Ride and public transit shuttle services for the initial term ending in June 30th, 2031, with 2 optional 2-year extensions in the amount not to exceed $8,751,330, And we do have representatives from Transportation Concepts who are also present this evening, should council have any specific questions for the contractor. And this concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Kelsey. Very nice. I'll bring it back. Shauna?
No questions from me. It was a great report. Thank you. I love that we offer this service. I think it's fantastic for students, for seniors, and everybody in between. Seeing these shuttles and buses around town just makes me smile. I love them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Michael?
Thank you, Kelsey. Just two quick questions. Do you know what our actual ridership is?
Yes, I do. So
And what's the cost per rider on an annual basis?
I don't have a cost per rider. I can pull those numbers and share them. I do have last year's passenger numbers. We had 23,945 riders between Dial-A-Ride, Morning Shuttle, A-Line Shuttle, and the Midday Shuttle, with, let's see, Dial-A-Ride being the most, at 12,601. We had Midday was 8,564. The A-Line was 1,132, and the morning was 1,648.
Do we have like a demographics? Is it in the daytime students, or is it mostly seniors? We have that data?
So during the day, so the midday and the morning are mainly used by students. So we tailor the hours to those shuttles for that demographic, because we know that's who mostly uses it. Dial-A-Ride is mostly seniors and people with persons with disabilities during the day, and then A-Line is just commuter, so they're mostly just adults going to the train station to go to work somewhere else.
It's a low-cost service for the rider?
Yes, so for seniors and persons with disabilities, it's 50 cents one way. Students, it's 75 cents, and general fare is $1.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mendel?
I think just one question. This is all paid for by grants, correct?
It's all through Prop A local return.
Okay. I ask that so that the public can hear that in light of the fact that we're looking for other funds to use for obviously the things that we're talking about. And I didn't want people to assume that we could just cut this because, and save us the 8 or 9 million. And so I wanted to publicly have it stated that this expense is being paid by grants, and you've answered that, and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
And
so
I hope
for
that people will hear that
yeah.
and not assume that we could just cut this and save ourselves, $8 million. So
Yeah, so for the public, anyone who doesn't know, Prop A, we get that money through a half-cent sales tax, and it can only be used for transit-related items. We can use it for Dial-A-Ride, shuttle services. We can't use it for streets. We can use it to purchase vehicles, but it basically has to only be for transit programs. So if we did cut these services, we couldn't really use that money for anything else.
And that's perfect, because I was going to ask you that question. So if we chose to use this for something else, is that, and you said no. So you nailed it. Great update. Thank you.
Thank you, Mendel. Karen?
Thank you, Kelsey. Great report, and it's a great service. I know many folks that use the Dial-A-Ride, and it really makes a difference for them. It makes the community a livable and place, and it is great to have that opportunity and option for them to get around. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And I thank our community partners, Transportation Concepts, for hanging out tonight. It's great. I must say, every time I've engaged, and it's frequently with the driving team and the dispatch team, they're all wonderful. So they're very customer service oriented, and it's fun, and Who else gets to drive around an orange box? It was pretty cool. I love it.
Yes, the new shuttles are very
Yeah.
cute.
It is.
We haven't
It's-
rid them yet.
It's wonderful. So good deal. Great. I'll
I'll move
entertain a
items
motion.
1 and 2.
Second.
Motion by the Yams and second, and ask a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Thank you for the continued partnership.
Can I say a couple words?
Please.
We figured you'd save the best to last. And we were okay with that. I'm David Mueller, the president of Parking Concepts. And with us tonight, Brett Baum. He's our VP of Transportation Concepts, and Brian Cannell, he's our Director of Operations. So you've got our A-team here tonight. And just want to thank the mayor and the council and the staff for continued support of our service here. You know, we're not the biggest by far, either parking or transportation company, but we're based in Irvine in LA, so we're local. My boss is the owner, and we just getting ready to celebrate our 52nd anniversary. He's owned it by himself the whole time, and you know, we're all about service. And accounts like Glendora are really like right up our sweet spot. You know, we don't go after the major stuff like MTA and things like that because we can't really demonstrate what we're all about, and that's personal service, you know, taking care of the client needs and our passengers and our employees. And, you know, last year, without getting a raise from the city, I think we increased our driver wages by about $5 an hour. And, you know, we're kind of reinvesting in the local job market here, and I think it really paid off for us. And we ate that cost for about a year, and we were happy to do that because we were able to hire better drivers and give better service. So, and the staff, you know, supported that 100%, and we appreciate what you guys did for us tonight too. So thank you.
And they're driving new buses, so they gotta like that.
Yeah, exactly. Any questions?
None.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you for the
you.
partnership.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll bring it back to any closing questions or comments? No? Then I will adjourn the meeting at 10:12. Good evening.